All right. I think we're recording. We are recording. So, what's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Clear Shots podcast. My name is Seth Tenton Quarantino Skinner. Oh my god!
Oh boy, here we go.
I am Jake, Streets of Rage's biggest fan, Jones.
All right. That would make me Dave. Jake has never played Doom. Reid.
Okay, bye.
And then Jake leaves.
Then Jake goes, all right, I'm out. See you in hell.
Yeah.
Oh, I love that shot. Guy's
Nick
not-
is here also, but he's no video. No video Nick, we can call him.
No video Nick
So
is here.
periodically, he's probably going to have us watching him playing through Metroid 2 Remake.
Yeah.
And I'm cool with it. He's going to do it when he needs help with a section, because I literally just ran it. like a week ago, I ran it.
I
Good one.
fucking so Fire Pro Wrestling is nasty.
Nasty.
There's
Did you
so
get
much
the New Japan
customization.
pack?
The what?
The New Japan pack is on sale for like $1. You got to get that.
You gotta get that for sure.
It
But
has
it's like
Kenny
there's so
Omega.
much like customization though. It's like you can just download people's characters and all the
Yeah.
movesets are there. And
Yep, everything. Every move is worked out. All their look is exact.
dude, there's even a mode called like Gruesome Match or some shit, and it's literally in an octagon. So it's like MMA.
It's
And you
straight
can
up.
you can download like George St. Pierre and shit. Just
Dude, Fire Pro Wrestling Returns for PS2 had all of that. It was such a good game. So
it's
good.
insane.
It had Ken Shamrock and shit in it, but his name was like Dan Ken Rock or something. Like some fake name, you know.
Yeah, they had to.
Mhm.
I mean, it's
What
just
is
so
this
sick. The amount of like the customization is just crazy.
Yeah, but then the New Japan stuff in that game is cool because it's not even like fake name stuff. It's straight up New Japan with the New Japan roster. And I don't know if it has the whole roster because I'm not super deep into New Japan, but it has the guys that you want it to have. Like
Yeah.
Kenny Omega and Kazuchika Okada and stuff. He's in it.
Yeah.
Bunch of good guys.
It's like once you get used to the controls, it's not too bad. It's a little confusing at first though. Just because
Yeah.
it's not
Well-
3D. It's 3D, but it's very. I don't know. The motion is very weird. The locomotion in
A
the game.
weird isometric view, but also it's like you can't just. It's not like No Mercy where if you're playing on easy, you can just walk in and do your finishers to guys immediately. You can just start doing power moves and grapples and shit, and stagger the shit out of them. You have to actually beat the guys down before it'll even ever allow you to do stronger attacks. So like you
Yeah.
have to start off punches and quick grapples and stuff, and then
And there's,
eventually when
like-
you wear the guy down, you can do strong grapples and do your signature moves and stuff.
Yeah, and there's like actually a like a stamina,
Yes.
but like you
Yep.
can't see it, so it's kind of just like a feel thing.
Yep. And you can kind of see your guy. Like the better you get to know your guy, the better you'll be able to tell when your stamina's down cuz they all
Yeah.
kind of like and like huff and puff and stuff. Huff and
Yeah.
puff and
It's
stuff.
wicked fucking cool. I only played it for like 2 hours. I was like really enjoying it.
Very
So
good.
what is
And
this?
it's
What
a
is it?
wrestling Fire Pro Wrestling World. So Fire Pro Wrestling is a wrestling game series that's like very heavily into the simulation style instead of being very fast and arcadey, but it is revolutionary in its customization and like create a character, create a title, create a organization, create a team, everything create. And
It's
you
on
can
sale
do,
right now.
you could do GM mode and all that, every mode that everybody wants. It's been in all of them for years. And the series goes back all the way to like Super Nintendo, I'm pretty sure. It might even go back to Nintendo, but the first one I ever heard of was on Super Nintendo, and we always wanted it and never found it anywhere. Because in the 90s, you couldn't just go on eBay and get a game off Japan or like off, you can't get like an emulator either. You can now, but even back then you couldn't get emulators and just try to get a ROM of something you couldn't get in the States. So now you can. Now you can go back and play them, but I don't even think there's translations. But I'll tell you right now, the number one wrestling game we gotta get and play that we are forced to get a ROM of is Virtual Pro Wrestling 2. That's the Japanese No Mercy. That's the one that's made by AKI.
It's on 64, right?
Yeah. There's a full translation ROM for it now. So you don't have to worry about the fact that it's in Japanese.
That was immediately when I opened up World. It was all Japanese, so I had to look up like how to get it switched to English.
What is that one called, Dave?
The 64 one? It's Virtual Pro Wrestling 2. But the one me and Seth are talking about is Fire Pro Wrestling World, which is a newer game. Came out within the last couple of years, I think.
Yeah, it's like newish.
Newish, yeah.
I remember back in the day, I had a buddy that was playing it, and I remember seeing the roster, and I was like, Jesus, like, how do they even have all these guys in? Like, Boss Rutan was in it and shit. I'm like, what is going on? Like, it's not. It's like this isn't even just a wrestling game. Like, this is like beyond that.
There's the MMA and stuff, and the MMA is actually done decently.
Yeah.
But
I mean, although you can still tombstone people, so
of course, yep. In
cool.
in MMA matches, it lets you do a tombstone power bomb or something.
I can just be like, oh, I'm gonna do Undertaker versus Mike Bisping, like give him the last ride and shit.
That's awesome.
That series is like a big deal over in Japan, though. That's like their main wrestling series they've had since Super Nintendo, and it's still running, you know. So
yeah,
I wish we had one of those because we have like we had SmackDown and we had the N64 games that AKI and THQ made, but and those are the best ever.
Yeah,
and a couple of SmackDown games also. Like
Shut Your Mouth, Know Your Role, Here Comes the Pain.
Here Comes the Pain is the one I always think of.
That one was
so good.
So many. That might be
better roster than any of them.
I mean, I wish I had all the hours I accumulated in that game, like on record somehow.
Just doing Armageddon Hell in the Cells, where it's 6-man, and you do you and 4 of your friends, so it's 5 people playing on like a multi-tap versus one guy. So it's like 5v1 in a Hell in a Cell.
And you're like accidentally hitting each other.
Vince McMahon, and you just are only throwing him off the cage over and over again. Yeah. Everybody takes turns diving off the top of the cage onto him while he's just in danger at all times.
Even like I probably spent most of my time playing that game just building characters and stables and shit.
Yep. Totally. I mean, that was always a big part of all of those games was the character creation.
Yeah. Well, yeah, it's like a wrestling game. You pretty much have to have a good character creator.
Yep.
Like I remember back in the day, the first time I ever saw the original Xbox, I saw my buddy Mike Johnson, who I used to live across the street from.
You are about to say the game. It's going to blow my mind.
It's WWE Raw.
Yeah. That has the worst running animation ever in a game. Like every single character runs with their knees bent at all times, and it makes them look like they have a full load of shit in their pants.
Yeah,
and that's the only stance is with their knees. Way
back. This thing, and then they lunge forward for the grapples. Yeah. But I thought at the time I was like, oh my god, this game looks amazing, and like graphically it looks okay still.
Yeah,
like if you're talking about just character models. But like I remember seeing it and I was like, oh my god, I gotta get this Xbox. Like this game is fucking awesome. And it's a fun game. It's just very awkward.
Decent. It was decent, but it was jarring when you see that shit.
Yeah. I didn't even know that. I was gonna shout him out, by the way, because he has a really awesome Instagram page and it's called Everything's a Bong. So at Everything's a Bong on Instagram. So what he does is he just finds like shit at like thrift shops. like Dale Earnhardt action figures and like fucking dinosaurs and shit, and then he just turns them into smoking devices. It's fucking genius. It's a very funny page. So shout out to Mikey. And I think that was it. Like, oh, you know what I wanted to talk about too was so like a couple of days ago, we have a girl that works in the warehouse and she's been there for like 2 years. And there was this customer that like, so she's carrying like 2 bags and she walks by me and I go to like get whatever else the guy needs to like have loaded up. And the customer goes like, "Oh, you're just gonna let her do that?" He said that to me. I'm like, what are you talking about? Like, that's her job.
With you. Yeah.
Yeah. Like, I'm like, she gets paid to do that. Like, he was upset that like I was making a girl carry the bags, basically.
Yeah, it's her job. So yep, she's carrying them, not me.
And so I was like getting pissed. Like right off the bat. So when I came back to him, I was like, dude, you know what? You're the reason we can't hire women in the warehouse, like people like you. And he got pretty upset. He got pretty mad. Well,
be sexist then.
Yeah.
And then I don't have to say things like that.
I mean, it's like it's crazy. Like you hear about people thinking that way and you're like, oh, it can't be that many people. And then when you see it firsthand.
2020. It's actually bad, but people do.
You know, he's got a good point, though. You shouldn't have made her do all the heavy lifting. That's not fair.
I guess, but I did go get the other bags, so.
I mean, it was pretty misogynistic of you to just fucking make her carry everything. But
yeah,
whatever.
true. I probably should have just had her do nothing and get paid for it, right?
Yeah, I mean,
yeah,
that's feminism, bro.
Yeah. I mean, he cooled off a little bit afterwards when he was like, well, I'm just from like a different generation or whatever. I'm like, I understand that, but that's not like, this is her job. Like, she is not going to just stand around and do nothing.
Yeah, she's getting paid to do that work. So now it's not chivalry, it's a job. So go lift it.
Yeah.
And if you can't, no big deal. It's not about your vagina. You just don't have the strength to lift stuff for your job. You're not fit for the job.
And if anything, you're weighed down even less because you don't have a dick hanging out, you know? You don't have to carry the extra dick weight.
The real weight of a dick is psychological, though.
Yeah, it's true.
You know it's true. Motherfucker doesn't shut up. He only has shit to say at the worst times.
Yeah, it's like me.
But we're like legit not allowed to hire like girls in the warehouse now because people like that. That's what my boss said too. She said that a couple days ago. She was like, yeah, we can't hire, like we're just waiting for men to apply because we can't hire women because of that. And then I was like, oh, that can't happen too often. And then of course it happens in like a day later.
Right in your face. Yep, right in your face. While it's fresh on your mind, you're like, that can't be it. Guy comes in and goes, it's a thing.
Yeah. I'm the problem.
Yeah, you're the problem. According to that guy.
I should have just taken the bags from her, dude.
Yeah, I never saw anything like that at Burn when I was working there. Never saw anything like workers not having to do stuff because of bullshit, sex, stuff like that. Nobody wanted to do anything, regardless if they were a guy or girl. Nobody wanted to do anything, so it didn't matter.
Like, you see a lot of customers that go like, they'll see that it's a girl loading up their truck, and they'll be like, don't worry about it, I'll do it. Like they just feel like, like I don't know. I get it in a sense, but I also you got to understand that they signed up for the job.
Correct. You're making it, not you, the person doing that is making it like you're refusing to allow the quality that's being asked for to take place.
Yeah.
Because she's not bitching about it. She's just going to do the job because she's getting paid to. She's not thinking anything of it. So why the fuck should anybody else?
Right.
And if she was bitching about it, you'd be like, fucking get out of my
Bye.
face.
Yeah.
Get out of my face.
It'd be funnier if she was like, if she heard him say that and she was like, you know what, he has a point, and then she just made you do that.
I'd be like, just leave.
Immediately, like Facebook Live, and then she's just
That's
like,
what I
yeah,
would do.
carry my
Yeah.
bags, bigot.
I'd aim to that guy and go, you're carrying them. Get over there. You're the one bitching about it. You're carrying the bags.
Yeah.
So how's everybody doing?
Yeah, I don't know. We're holding up, dude. We're starting to open back up. We're gonna open things back up next week, right?
Yeah, apparently.
Let's see.
I wish the meatball sandwich behind you was real, though. It does look good. What is it? Is it like a Firehouse or a Quiznos?
I don't know. It's got a little seasoning on there too.
Subway. No chance. That's not a Subway sub.
Is Nick there? I can't.
Yeah.
He is.
He's there. I
Okay.
can see him sort of making noises. Just Google meatball sub, and it should be one of the first ones.
It's gonna be his nose.
Here, so you know I'm here.
I can't tell what's happening, but I like it. Oh, there we go. Yeah. Where are you at? Oh, you're early.
Oh yeah, I just started.
Lee.
There he is.
You're on PC though, right? Not on your
Yeah.
phone.
Yeah,
Okay.
well, let's see.
Oh, I guess I can't find the meatball sub anymore, so I don't know.
You know what I really wish that a company would take a risk in making?
Hmm.
And it sounds really crazy because it's not like the last game in this franchise wasn't super successful. But I want another Alien game. It's been 6 years
Oh,
since the last Alien game.
Isolation was 6 years ago?
Yeah, man. 2014. That game came out when I was still in high school.
That
What's
game
up?
was nasty.
That game was amazing. Dude, Sega fucking they hired Critical Assembly to make it. Or
Mhm.
Creative Assembly to make it. And they missed the fucking sales goal by like 200,000, so they got cut from their contract.
That's trash.
They were like, we're gonna have to keep making Alien games if this one sells. It was like 3 million in the first year, and it missed. And it sold even more since then because they put it on fucking next gen and stuff.
That's so
And,
dumb, man. That
It's
game was
I'm surprised it was that long. It doesn't feel like it was that long ago.
Yeah, man.
Isolation does not feel like it was that long ago. It feels like it was like maybe 4 years ago.
Yeah.
But still,
I mean,
it doesn't
I didn't
matter.
play it
That's
until
a
a couple.
That game
Well-
was wicked good.
Yeah.
That game was amazing.
I mean, I think I waited on it for a little while before I started playing it, but I think I got it on like a Games with Gold or like something like that, something for like super cheap.
Yeah,
I saw Wes playing it when it came out, and I remember I literally like that day or the next time I went home, I fucking pirated it and fucking got it for PC. And then I bought it.
too.
Piracy works.
Piracy works because you bought it.
I fucking own
Alright.
2 copies of that. game. On
You wouldn't
Xbox.
download a car.
The thing
yeah,
is you can't download a car. Exactly.
right.
See, that's the thing.
I would
At
have
some point-
Could.
Well, yeah, maybe you can, dude. You know, maybe
Oh,
Amazon has a device eventually that just 3D prints whatever you order instantly.
But anyway, so like playing Alien Isolation and playing Gears Tactics just came out. It's the Gears of War XCOM spinoff. It is so
wow.
fucking good. It's so good. And I'm like, it would be so easy to
I
make
need to get that.
like a tactics shooter, a tactical shooter in the Alien world.
Yeah, they should do an Alien game that's like XCOM.
Yes.
The thing is it gonna just end up being XCOM? Because XCOM is already an Alien game, isn't it? Not Alien the like
Well,
universe.
it has
but-
aliens
yeah,
in it,
like
but I
it
think
has aliens in it, right?
it would
Yeah,
be
just
cooler
take
if
that and
the
just skin it like it's aliens.
Well, I think it would just be cool if, like, the enemies didn't have guns.
Yeah.
Like you're using like range weaponry, and maybe there's aliens that can spit at you or
Still
something.
like turn-based tactical combat. It's so smart,
Yeah.
dude. I love those games.
It's so fun, like shit like that. It's addicting because once you get your squad to a certain level, Like, I got to the point where I do not accept, like, failure. Like, so I'm doing every single side objective and optional objective.
Mm-hmm.
And it's
Yeah.
like, it feels so good when you replay a level like 4 times in a row and then you finally get a perfect rating and you're like, yep, okay, I outsmarted the game. Like, it just feels good.
See, I did like there are certain games, I don't know what it is, but in most games, like I'm kind of a completionist in a lot of games where I have to do side quests and shit like that. Like, I can't avoid it.
Mm-hmm.
And there's certain games where I'm also like, don't
Fuck
care,
it.
just want to blaze through
Some
this
games
story
you just
mode.
don't care, yeah. Some
So I
games
feel
don't
like-
even like facilitate that kind of stuff. Like Last of Us.
Yeah.
Last of Us is amazing, but there's not really room to go
pretty
all
linear,
over the
yeah.
place and explore. It's pretty linear.
Nope.
Now, given it's because it's a story-driven game, and it
You're gonna
makes
die.
sense.
Some of this stuff is cool. Like, I think the PS3 version had it so where if you
getting
unlock
fucked
all the unlockables in the story mode, you got like bonus outfits online. So you could like Halo 3 did that. If you like got a special achievement, you got a cool piece of armor or whatever. I think rewarding players for playing the campaign and getting all the unlockables, I feel like is something that not a lot of games do anymore. They don't give a shit if you play the single player.
No, even unlockables in general are almost gone. Like it's
a
almost it's like
double-edged sword, though, because like I hear what you're saying. I agree. I think there should be unlockables. I think what we're really missing is cheats, man. There should be cheats in games still, so you can just type in some bullshit and then get everything. Like,
yeah,
why not?
even if it's the way
Nobody's asking to get a cheats for it.
yeah, like that's the thing is I think that's what GTA did was they would just if you entered a cheat, it would just turn achievements off.
Yeah, I don't get why that stopped. Because some games you just want to play through with everything already, and you can't. And now what they do is what Capcom does, which is they go, Resident Evil 2 remake's been out for like a couple years or whatever. Cool. Now for like $5, make it so they can pay to unlock everything without having to beat it. And that's kind of shitty. You should just be able to do a code and unlock it.
I remember games doing shit like that, like even before, like 2009 or 10. Yeah. Bad Company 2 came out, and you could spend $20 on the in-game store and automatically have all the weapons and perks unlocked. So when you started the game, you automatically had late game equipment, and 13-year-old Jake did that.
Yeah.
But that's the thing. Resident Evil is such a good example of that because everybody. That's why I say it's a double-edged sword. That whole concept, because in Resident Evil, you have to play and beat the game, beat the snot out of it to get the guns, the unlimited that you want, like rocket launcher and shit like that.
Yeah.
But by the time you unlock it, you're so tired of the game from already running it that it's too late to care that you got those.
Yeah.
So that's why it's tough. Because it's like, I understand unlocking cool shit by beating the game, but by the time you beat the game, you don't want that shit anymore. So to me, I almost like it better that they have a way for you to just pay and unlock everything now so you can play the game for fun with all the stuff. I just wish you could do a code instead and not have to pay like gaming used to be.
Agreed.
Where every thing didn't cost money for no reason.
Well, I even feel that way in like looter shooters like Destiny, where I'm working hard to get a gun, and then by the time I get it, I'm like, okay, I got it. Well, I'm exhausted because I just played 7 hours of fucking Destiny to try and get this thing.
It's like that South Park episode where they play World of Warcraft.
Yeah. And then they finally get to play the game.
I feel like...
Now what do we do? What do you mean? Now we can play the game.
It's the second time I've heard that reference today. To that episode.
Today. Yep, that got referenced earlier.
Did it really?
Yeah, because we were talking about Derek playing Path of Exile for his entire life.
60,000 hours in. He has almost as many hours as he's been alive since the game came out. And zero disrespect intent. Max respect. That game's great, but holy shit is he deep.
What do you mean?
I mean, Derek has put in at least like 15,000 hours into Path of Exile. I don't know the number anymore.
That's lowballing it, actually.
That's lowballing. But also, he was super, super deep in, like, integrated into the game, where he knew the developers and shit, and he knew everybody. He was like a major player in that game's community for a long time.
Holy
Still
shit.
is. Still is.
Still
like,
is. Yeah, as
what
the last
actually
time, still is.
what actually happened was, so like at high level, and getting high level in that game takes a long time. Like
Oh,
getting
yeah.
to truly like a fully leveled character and being able to beat like all the end game and shit at this point takes a lot of time.
Oh, yeah.
And so before
Yeah.
it was like, even on Steam, he was playing, and like before he took his profile off, it was like 13,000 hours or something, and that was like 2 or 3 years ago. I want to say maybe even 4.
That's
So he's been
ridiculous.
playing since then, but at some point he was actually playing, and the developers were actually watching him because they were like, because there's certain things you can put together at some point where it becomes like really overpowered and shit.
Yeah,
and
just
like
builds
sometimes
that
they
are
don't
so
even
ridiculous.
think about it. So he was using shit, and they were watching him for over an hour, just being like, "We're just gonna watch you because we need to see how balanced this is."
And it's not. He's going balance.
Yeah.
He's like,
Well,
oh,
it's
cool, you.
balanced. I just have too much.
Yeah,
Like,
he's gonna be like, oh, cool, you fixed that. I'm just gonna break it with something else.
Yeah.
and he's a very intelligent guy. So that game is up his alley big time because
I
it's
know
so
there was a
detailed.
couple tournaments too where he was top 10. He's definitely like one of the best players on that game by far.
Yeah.
It's fucking crazy.
I've had pretty deep conversations with him about the mechanics of like character building and stuff, and I get lost. And I
Yeah.
know those games.
It's,
man.
I mean,
I went-
it's just a deep skill tree. Like,
Oh,
it's
yeah.
a tough game to make. Like, I mean, there's so many possible build combinations.
Yeah.
Nick, can you pull your screen share? Because that's going to be the only thing we see the whole video.
It's funny.
Oh, I thought you could move it.
Oh, we can. I don't think they're in the recording. I think it'll probably show it.
Oh, I got you.
I mean, it'll show us too, but like it'll show us in the corner.
Gone?
There, yeah.
Okay.
Just give us updates. Live updates.
Pop in when you're about to fight a boss or some shit.
Yeah.
Something actually entertaining. You're just grinding
I
right
was
now.
just to let,
Just move
yeah, it
to-
was to let Jake know. He was wondering if I was alive. Now he knows.
Oh, he's alive.
I'm alive, man.
in the game.
In the game. He's just a ghost.
Barely.
So that is actually the character from Star Fox on GameCube, right? Assault or
Yeah.
whatever.
Yeah.
That's the,
Star-
okay.
it's like
Yeah, that's a
Adventures
complete
or something.
nightmare. Complete nightmare.
Mhm.
Because
That
Assault
makes
was
me
different.
think about when I see that picture and I think about really creepy old guys. It makes me think about that My Strange Addiction episode of the dudes that wear the like rubber doll bodysuits, and it's all like middle-aged guys, and they wear skin suits with really poorly made masks that look super creepy.
Like
and then
Iron Man masks?
They like no, not like an Iron Man mask. Vinny would know more about the Iron Man mask situation. But no, not an Iron Man mask. It's it's like a creepy like Halloween mask of a girl's face, and then this latex bodysuit, and he wears like a bikini and takes pictures.
Oh,
Like
there
he's
was a
hot.
movie. There was a
And I'm like,
movie
yes,
that.
yes.
Why? How do you get into that?
That was in the Gypsy tapes.
No. Not well. The Poughkeepsie tapes are fucked up, but that's not the guy. No,
Have you seen?
that's a whole different nightmare.
Have you seen that movie?
Yeah.
I don't think so.
Dude, when that movie came out, it's not good. It's just disturbing.
Yeah.
But when it came out, a buddy of mine who went to school at CIA, the Culinary Institute of America down in that area, he lived in Poughkeepsie when he was going to school there. And he was like, when that movie came out, he was like, dude, I don't know if this is like real or not, or if this is
Yeah.
based on something real. And
That's-
it's not real. It's just a
I
fucking
thought
movie.
that shit was real for like.
I
2
know,
weeks.
everybody did, man.
It was fucked
It
up.
makes me think of Blair Witch Project, because remember when that first came out? I mean, Jake you were probably super young when it came out.
I was like
But,
3.
yeah, super young. So you probably don't even really remember that well.
What I mean,
but
from what I remember, the
do.
marketing was like super good for that too.
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, the movie's great, but people were unsure if it was real or not, and obviously it wasn't.
My
but
mom still refused to watch it. My dad fucking bought it, or he one of his friends had it, and my dad copied it over to just a blank videotape.
Yes.
And my dad pretended that it was a different movie. He's like, "Oh yeah, I got this movie from so and so." I started watching it, and my dad was like, "I don't know what this is, but we should just keep watching it." And my dad fucked with my mom like that for the whole weekend, watching the movie. They lived in a trailer in the woods at that time, by the way.
That's not where you want to live.
No, yeah, she still refuses to watch that movie to this day. It's hilarious.
Well, I would say you don't want to live in a trailer in the woods anyway.
No chance, dude. Fuck.
I mean, that's about the setting for most horror movies.
That's how I felt with Paranormal Activity. Like, people obviously knew it wasn't real, but that movie was like a phenomenon.
Yeah, when
I thought,
yeah,
such a big deal.
Well, I thought Cloverfield was real.
Yeah, dude. Especially the ending when they're getting stomped out by a giant monster that's visibly like PlayStation 1 cutscene graphics.
Yeah.
We didn't know at the time, but
It
at the
looked
time we were going, it looks so real.
it was like,
Dude, that's a whole different conversation, though. Do you remember? And the way I noticed it most, and like growing up, me and my brother and like our friends noticed it most, was in the wrestling games. Every time one came out, we were like, these graphics are incredible. And we would play the fuck out of it. And then the next one would drop and we'd be like, holy shit, these graphics are incredible. And we'd go back and play the one that we just thought was top tier. And we'd look at it and be like, these graphics are shit.
Yeah.
After the next one.
Yeah,
and it was just
fail.
so noticeable how much better the graphics got. And now it's tough to notice because all games just look crazy now.
Well, also it's 2K and they make the same one every year with more
that's
bugs.
How they make it where the graphics are their body doesn't even load and it's just teeth and eyes floating to the ring.
Yeah.
Dude, that game is I'm glad that game happened because it just shows how the gaming industry has changed to stop good games from getting made.
Yeah.
Because back in the day, your game had to be incredible or it didn't fucking matter. It wasn't going to sell. There was nothing you could do about it. Had to be good or it was over. And now your game has to not be good, but be packed with opportunities to spend 99 cents and spend $1 and spend $2 and spend $5 in game, or it's not going to get sold by a publisher.
Well, the thing is like, yeah, I guess that's a good point. The thing is like, they have no really competition is what it comes down to. The fact that there's no competition at all. Like I've said this for like the last 10 years that exclusive licensing needs to be illegal.
It needs to be illegal. Yeah.
Even if it's like PlayStation exclusives or Xbox exclusives, like you're excluding people from playing the game, and I feel like you're limiting your audience too.
Yeah.
Like, what is the real?
Because they don't have the opportunity to make the maximum amount of profit off of just a good game that sells well, and then they're pigeonholed into having to put in in-game transactions and shit to make the most.
Back when there was like NBA Live and NBA 2K, the games kept getting better because they were going against each other.
Then NBA Live went, we'll let them have a monopoly.
The same deal with Madden too, when Madden had 2K to compete with.
Yes.
Yeah.
It was like each one was trying to one up the other. Like I remember 2K did the hit stick, so then Madden the next year did the highlight stick, which was fucking sick.
Yeah, and they were always great games, and you got those, and those games are still wicked good.
And then those two companies, EA and 2K, went, we'll stay out of your yard, and you guys can have basketball if you stay out of ours, and we'll do football, so that we don't have to make good games anymore, and we can just sell players for 99 cents each and sell teams for $5 and shit.
Dude,
yeah.
So, whatever.
The first 2K game I ever played, I think, was either 13 or 14. And it was crazy because this is mind blowing to tell someone that's like 12 or
That's
13.
hilarious that you
Like-
just.
I never liked basketball until I was in college,
Okay.
so that's why I didn't play them. But
You're
you
saying
used
the
to be able to
2K
create-
basketball games. Gotcha. Yep.
yeah, you used to be able to create a character, and then there was a story made for your character, and then you didn't have to pay money to be a good player in the game.
Yes,
You just
yeah.
leveled up normally.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Back
Yeah, there was
when
a guy,
games
like-
were still games.
Yeah,
I
my
talked
buddy
to
Stan-
well,
Oh,
I
go
talked to one of the guys at GameStop the last time I went in there because I went in to get like the show 20. I was gonna trade in 19 and get 20, but they didn't let me because of this whole thing. They weren't taking trade-ins. But he was telling me about a guy who comes in like almost every week to buy the 2K stubs or whatever,
the
like
coins.
the digital currency. Instead of like, he doesn't just buy them on his credit card for whatever reason. He comes in and physically buys the little card.
Maybe he buys
And he
them.
comes in
kid.
every like week to get that shit. It's like, really? You're spending weekly money on NBA 2K to get your character like better?
It's so stupid.
You used to just be able to
Play the
it
game.
and get better.
Yeah.
Yeah, there'd be
It's
shit like
really sad.
you create a guy and it's like, let's say he starts out and you're just a 3-point shooter, and like every season you'd pick like 3 achievements. It'd be like get 10 threes in one game, and if you get that, you fucking get like an app.
Yes. What it should be is like you pick a prototype. Like if you pick 3-point shooter, you get that stat pretty high when you first start, and then everything else is lower, and then you work your way up with everything else, and you build the character as you want it to be, as you want it to play.
Yeah.
Yeah, like an RPG. like
Yeah.
like that was sick back in the day. Like you could do the coach mode for was it NBA Live had the coach mode where when you were a rookie coach, the superstar players wouldn't always listen to your play calls. So you had to like bond with your players and shit in order to have the game like
Yeah, it's like being
The-
under leveled
as a
in
coach.
Pokemon. Like
Exactly.
when your
It's pretty
Pokemon
much the
starts
same thing.
loafing around. Your players are loafing around.
LeBron James
I
is
think-
just laying down.
I think the first 2K game I ever played was NFL 2K for Dreamcast. When 2K Sports began on Dreamcast, and it was a Sega company. And they made sports games exclusively for Dreamcast, and every one of them was incredible. Every
And that's the
single
thing.
from the first ones out, they were so good on Dreamcast.
Part of the problem with Dreamcast was like getting more licenses too. That's why
Yep.
that's part of the reason why they died out so fast, or it died out so fast. Also, it came out in a weird time slot.
It came out in a time, and it had 0 copy protection for no reason. So you could take a Dreamcast game and put it in your computer, rip the ISO or the disk image, and then burn that to a blank disk, and it will play in the system, no problem. So they went, please pirate all our games and put us out of business.
Yeah.
And that's what happened.
Fucking Sean had one of those CD cases with literally every Dreamcast game.
Yep.
He had like 80 or 90 discs.
Yeah.
And like he had
There's
the
some
CDs that was
great
like all the like because a lot of the games were smaller arcade games, so you could put like more than one game on one disc.
Dynamite Cop, Die Hard Arcade.
Dynamite Cop was legendary.
Legendary, yeah.
They're all just white CDR
You-
with
that
Sharpie.
game- That game got found because me and my brother bought it for $1 out of a discount bin at EB Games at Great Northern Mall when Dreamcast was still a new console. We were like, this game looks random. Let's try it. And now it's legendary. It's such a good game.
See, I don't
It's
even
an
like.
arcade co-op beat 'em up. It's actually fun.
I kind of miss even burning CDs was a thing. Like
Yeah.
that used to be a thing.
Oh, that's long gone now. Unless
Dude,
you
it's
have a
so
Dreamcast.
cool.
Unless you have a
I
Dreamcast and you need
this
games
is-
for it.
yeah. This is another Mike Johnson story actually. So like I said, he used to live across the street from me, so like we would hang out all the time. And once he got his Xbox, I remember one night he came over just to spend the night, which is weird because he could have just walked across the street and gone to bed. But he brought his original Xbox, and when we went to bed, he pulled the disc out and put it on like my table or whatever, and it had the dashboard. It had the original Xbox dashboard, like the green X screen and everything. And he went to music, and he had all of his CDs ripped onto the fucking console. And it blew my mind. I was like, holy shit, how do you have all that on there? And he just played music, and we just went to sleep with his Xbox on playing music. And that, I was like, this console is fucking awesome.
The original Xbox was incredible, man.
Yeah.
Me and my brother rip Iced Earth, Alive in Athens, and Nevermore albums and Megadeth and shit to it. And then we would play Tony Hawk Pro Skater 2X, which is the best Tony Hawk game ever made.
Yeah.
And you could play the game and bring up, you'd go to the audio options in game and
just
pick music and enable only the music saved to your hard drive, and you'd be skating around Iced Earth and shit.
Yeah,
it was so good.
Sick.
You still can't really do that. I guess you can now because you can get on Spotify and you can play music off of Spotify.
Yeah, you can do that. The 360 I think the 360 did have that. Okay. I'm pretty positive. But it's back then I would just, as soon as I got a new CD, I'd just put it in my original Xbox and burn it to it.
Yes, always. We did the same thing. Yeah, I think the game I played, the Wave Beam, nice. You get that early in that game for some reason.
Yeah.
You get a lot of stuff not out of order. I haven't played the original in forever, but you get a lot of stuff in that game that when you get it, you go, I'm actually getting this early. Because in all the other ones, it's stuff you get super late. Like Space Jump, you always get towards the end of the game. You get it super early in Metroid 2.
Going back to microtransactions, there's actually, so there's a lot of negatives, right? But there are definitely positives in that there's a lot more free to play games that are quality games.
Yes.
That come out now
because they rely on those transactions to make their money.
Exactly.
And you don't
have to.
You don't have to. Stuff. Yep, especially that's one thing Fortnite does very well is that they have all this stuff you can spend real money on, like the pass, the season pass and stuff like that, battle pass or whatever, and you get all these extra things from it, but they're not really an advantage in game. It's all skins and shit.
Yeah,
and
they all do the same thing too.
Always still comes down to just your skill or not.
Yeah, PUBG, what is it? Warzone, Apex, all those games do the same thing.
Yep. And there's other games that do that too, like League of Legends and all the MOBAs and stuff. A lot of those do that.
Toontown?
Toontown's not up anymore, is it?
I don't remember.
Well, hell, I mean, Destiny and Warframe do it too, in a way. So it's
yeah, Warframe for sure does it. Yep.
Does what?
Where it's a free game that banks on you spending money on in-game stuff that's not necessarily an advantage, but is just extra shit,
Just fully cosmetic, yeah.
Yeah.
And it helps you progress in a way, but also you're depriving yourself of gameplay by you're basically taking away the grind that you would have to get those things in the first place.
Yeah. Which is the journey.
The game.
That's what makes it feel good is when you're play the game, get the resources, build something, wait for it to finish build, and then you get this nasty new gun that you've worked on for a while, and then you still have shit to do. So you go out and do the new shit, and you have this nasty gun that racks.
Yeah.
Yeah, that game's good, man. I really enjoy that.
Yeah, it's you're almost paying to play less. It's very weird.
Seth, what do you think the game you spent the most amount of time on was on the original Xbox?
Halo 2, probably.
Halo 2? That's fair. I
didn't have live, so
Tony Hawk 2X.
Oh yeah, it was one of those.
I didn't have live either. It's too early, dude. Live, I didn't even know about it.
That's the thing. You'd have to run a cable to the console to get it to work.
And you had to buy. No, the Xbox came with an Ethernet cable input. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
Because the PlayStation 2 didn't. It had a 56K modem, and you had to buy an adapter for it that let it run an Ethernet cable. And that's when you bought that Ethernet adapter for the PS2, it usually was something you would buy pack in with SOCOM because SOCOM was the big game that you played online and it actually worked.
I remember when I bought EverQuest for the PS2, it came with one of those.
Dude, I forgot EverQuest was on PS2. That's hysterical to me.
Yeah.
Because that was the first, like, real world played big MMORPG I ever heard of.
Yeah, dude. I never got to play it because we thought it was a Wi-Fi adapter and it wasn't. So,
So you're fucked. Yep.
I owned EverQuest for PS2 my entire life, and I never got to play it.
Yeah. And it was a PC game though. Like if you didn't play EverQuest on PC, you missed out.
Yeah.
Like you didn't miss out because who gives a fuck? There's always other games that are great that you didn't miss out on. But if you were playing it on PS2, you're not accessing the actual community for that game because it was all that mattered was the PC version.
Yeah. I didn't have an original Xbox, but I did have a PS2, and I definitely spent most of my time playing Time Splitters 2.
Oh, that's a great game.
Probably that more than anything, or Final Fantasy X, obviously.
Yeah, I think for me that whole gen though, like it was like the PS2 probably was the best overall as far as games and all that shit. But I
think
thought
so.
that the Xbox just was like
it had a charm to it. It had different games. The games it had that were exclusives were phenomenal.
And it felt like it was targeted towards a more like mature audience.
It did. I agree. It felt like it was a console that did a good job of finding a way to market towards like PC elitists.
Yeah.
Also, because they were like, oh, it's a Microsoft console. I could give it a try. And it was pretty much a gaming computer. And the games it ran very well. It didn't look like the same gen. Like when you look at original Xbox games compared to PS2 games, they look better. Like Halo looks crazy compared to other games.
Yeah, there was a gap there in graphics for sure, and then it slimmed down.
It came out later. It came out later. It was the last of all of that gen to come out by like a year or more.
Yeah. I was always shocked with how good GameCube games looked back in the day.
GameCube was incredible, man. And it didn't make any sense because it was tiny discs, way less storage, and they still had Wind Waker on that shit. That game's huge, man.
Yeah,
and look,
you just posted the Fight Night thing earlier.
Yeah,
that looks really good for a GameCube game.
They ported like every Resident Evil game to GameCube when it first came out.
I actually was looking through my games for GameCube, and I was like, Resident Evil 4? I forgot they had that on there, but that was like when, dude, there's a couple GameCube games that are super, super important that are like series defining for me. And that's the Resident Evil 1 remake they did as an exclusive on GameCube, right around the same time they ended up doing 0. And then also Metal Gear Solid Twin Snakes, which is the remake of the original Metal Gear Solid, and it's the best Metal Gear game I've ever played.
Dude, yeah, and so many people get pissed hearing you say that, and it doesn't matter because they're wrong.
It is the best.
It's so fucking cool.
It's the same as the first game, and I think the first game is the most it's the best plot of any of the Metal Gear games. I think Metal Gear Solid 1 is the best plot of all of them. It's like the most classic. It's in the middle of the story, so there's characters in play that have been in play since the first 2 Metal Gear games, like on NES or actually MSX computer in Japan. But then it's not super off the rails into all the weird ass shit they get into in like 2 and 4. But 3, you could argue 3 is the best Metal Gear game too. Snake Eater, you could argue that's the best one too. That game's incredible.
I think that one changed. That one was probably the one that a lot of companies got the most influence from.
Probably.
Like the survival mechanics you had never really seen before.
Mm-hmm.
The active camouflage mechanics.
Super true. Yeah.
There was shit you could do in that game that affected the late game. Like if you're in the beginning, like Act 1 or whatever, you can explore the woods, like the forest and swamps, and you can find these big warehouses. And if you destroy the warehouses, towards the end of the game, the soldiers have like shittier equipment and less ammo and stuff.
You know what would be a good tier list to do is like most innovative video
I was
games.
just about to say the most influential, like the most innovative, influential games. I instantly think of one game when I think of that. And it's funny, we were talking about graphics on the different consoles. I, to this day, think that this is one of the most influential games of all time. And I think it's the best looking game on PS2. I also think it's the number one game that when it came out and you saw it on PS2, you thought, is this a next gen game? Like, is
Shadow
this on
of the
PS3?
Colossus.
Shadow of the Colossus, exactly. And when Shadow of the Colossus came out, everything after it had to be like that, had to have that intense, grand, epic, like powerful feel and look to it, or it didn't count for some reason. And it was
Right.
immediately visible in Nintendo because Nintendo did Wind Waker, and that game's incredible. And people bitched about it because they didn't like the graphics. And look, I loved it. I bought it
That
all the
game
way,
was
man. I
insanely
loved
good.
that game. I
That
think it's one of the best
was-
Zelda games ever made.
Was Wind Waker the cell shaded one?
Yeah.
Yes. And it was gorgeous.
Yeah.
Gorgeous. And it was huge and the story was incredible. But Nintendo went, man, what are we going to do? What are we going to do to do this? And before they could have an original thought, which they would have, Shadow of the Colossus came out and they went, oh, we're going to do all of that in the context of a Zelda game. And then they made Twilight Princess. And the music, the look, the feel, the intensity, the everything, it looks like Shadow of the Colossus. It's very visible. And a lot of game makers have openly said, like they've openly declared their love for that game, just Shadow of the Colossus, not even really Ico. Ico's good too, but Shadow of the Colossus specifically, people that make games have always said, "Oh yeah, that game changed everything."
Yeah.
But there's others. There's so many others, dude. Like GoldenEye with the,
yes,
the multiplayer.
like, yeah, I mean, even Half-Life,
Half-Life, wicked crazy.
Halo, the first Halo.
Half-Life 2. Half-Life 1 came out, immediately was like one of the best shooters ever made. I think it's one of the best games ever made. And that directly branched and facilitated fucking Counter-Strike, dude.
Yeah.
And Team Fortress. Two huge series that are super beloved that only exist because Half-Life existed and they got modded. It's crazy. Why?
Yeah.
Why is this happening?
What am I seeing?
Yeah.
It's a boss. You told
I
me
can't
it's a
see
problem.
it.
It's a boss. Oh,
No, it's just a black screen.
It's just
Aw.
black.
that's unfortunate.
Well, boss you fighting.
Hold on. Let me see if I can.
Fix it. Yeah, I think Halo 1 was revolutionary too because like it was tough to get controls on a console for a shooter like that. And I think they were able to lock it down pretty well.
Say this. As far as shooters go, the two most influential ones in my mind that I always lean into are not Doom, and like I guess Quake or like Wolfenstein or Duke Nukem. It's not really them, although obviously first-person shooters exist because of Doom and Wolfenstein. Like obviously, I get that. I'm not discounting that. I definitely think that's true. I definitely think it's true. But I think GoldenEye was the first game that nailed story-driven first-person shooter because you are playing through the movie pretty much, and it's so well done, and story mode is so good in that.
Right.
And then the big holy shit for first-person shooter story mode being implemented and done flawlessly was Halo 1. Like that was the first-person shooter I can think of in my mind that we played growing up, and the story was so masterfully told. And I just in shooters like when you played Duke Nukem 3D or 64, there's a story but barely, and you're really just running gunning and smoking guys with bank shots with a grenade launcher. But
what is this? What is this shit on my screen? Is he? Oh, Nick is sharing his screen. It's coming up black on mine.
Right.
Yeah, it's just a black
still-
screen.
Fuck.
I like.
Well,
Can you fix that?
It's an epic fail.
I didn't mean to cut you off, Dave. I was just really confused.
Yeah.
But yeah, so Duke Nukem 3D.
What about it?
You were talking about that. I don't know what we were talking about tier lists.
We were talking about influential games, and I was talking about how first-person shooters that are influential to me, you obviously have to give credit to like Doom and Duke Nukem and Quake, Wolfenstein, because they were like the first run of fast-paced, well-controlled, clean, like intense first-person shooters. But I always look at GoldenEye and Halo 1 because of their huge influence in story-driven, like campaign modes in games.
Yeah,
and you didn't
that's
have
why I was
that.
thinking we should do a tier list for the most influential games.
Yeah,
and I mean, we'd have to make it ourselves, which is part of the problem. But
yep,
I think when you make,
I don't know how you wouldn't be able to do that without like adding. I don't even know what you would add. I think you would definitely have to put Banjo-Kazooie on there.
As far as
was Banjo-Kazooie before Mario 64 or no?
Hell no. Mario 64 might be. So I'll say this: if we're doing a tier list on influential games, Mario 64 is possibly number one.
That's what
I
I'm
would
saying.
vote 64 is number one. It was a launch title for the N64, a fucking launch title for the 64.
I didn't know that.
Instantly perfect controls, perfect graphics at the time, anyways, obviously, and it just looked and felt like magic to play.
To me, it's arguably the best N64 game, and it was one of the first ones to come out.
Yeah, I would argue Ocarina of Time, but you could argue Mario 64, because it's so good.
Those two are probably pretty close. And then you got WCW World Tour. So
you have WCW versus NWO World Tour. All seriousness on that end, you'd have like WrestleMania 2000 or No Mercy as far as the wrestling games go. Hard to pick between those two because the rosters on both.
WrestleMania 2000.
The roster on that one is possibly better than No Mercy's
because it's 2000. I mean, anything in like basically 01 was their best roster ever.
That's No Mercy.
No, I mean, Here Comes the Pain had that basically the same roster.
They did, but even better.
Yeah.
Here Comes the Pain had the best roster in a wrestling game.
That's why I really like this fucking Fire Pro Wrestling, because I can just get whoever I want.
Exactly.
So your roster is endless.
Yeah. Yeah, you can go into the community hub and just download John Cena and shit.
Yeah. It's really cool. And it plays pretty well. I was actually really surprised.
Good. Yeah, it's very good. I'm so excited to get that Xbox One controller tomorrow so that I can actually play stuff on my computer like really well.
Yeah. Wii Sports is definitely on there.
Has to be. That's real. That's actually real. Yeah, Wii Sports has to be. That's one of the craziest launch titles of all time.
Yeah. I would love to get another Wii, but I
know, me too.
It's HDMI, right? I'm pretty sure it is. It would be an HDMI.
I think it's the last console ever made that actually wasn't. I'm pretty sure it's the last console ever made that was not HDMI support.
Good, because I don't have another slot. I have the Switch, the PS4, and the Xbox One all plugged in.
It's composite. You have to get an adapter, yep.
I have a composite. I have one of those splitters, like the 3-way composite splitters.
That's all you need, man.
Because I have the N64 and the original Xbox also hooked up.
So if you get a Wii, you can find a Wii you can get a Wii used on GameStop app for like $50 with controllers.
Or you could just be everything's a bong and smoke out of a Nintendo Wii instead.
True.
Could do that. Yeah.
To S-video cables, remember those?
S-video cables are still a big deal, man. They are like the best way to capture old gameplay and have it look spotless in your video capture.
Yeah,
that's real. A lot of guys that I follow, like the Angry Video Game Nerd, the Cinemasker guys, when they do old gameplay footage, they always capture using S-video because it looks the best.
Yeah. Sure. That's the thing is, like, those old games don't translate to HDMI very well. You know?
No.
They're not built for that.
They do great on S-video. They look super powerful.
I mean, they're built for CRT TVs, basically. Yeah.
Yep. I know. I've been playing Final Fantasy VII, and I own the game. Otherwise, like I try not to do emulator stuff unless it's a game I own, just out of respect for all these great games I love. But if I can't find something, I'm just gonna get around. Like I don't give a fuck.
Right.
But I own Final Fantasy VII, and I'm playing my ROM of it, and it looks so much better playing it on my PC with upscaling and shit like that than it ever could playing it on my actual PlayStation hooked up to
Yeah.
my fucking 4K HDR TV. Like, it's unbearably bad playing classic consoles on my new TV. It's terrible.
Yeah.
It makes me want to try to find a tube TV to hook up those old consoles to, so I could just play them how they're supposed to play.
You
Because they
could
look
find one
really
probably.
cute on-
I mean, you could get it on Craigslist for free, probably.
Maybe, yeah. Could probably get one up for free on Craigslist. That's real.
And it probably
like
has bad
Facebook
bugs,
shop,
but I mean, if it has COVID or bad bugs, you're good. It's whatever. It's worth it.
If it has bad bugs, fucking, I won't be surprised.
Yeah, no, it's.
Your
I would
TV
say
has
good.
bad bugs.
Well, I guess it would be TV bugs, but what? Okay, so I just came up with this. If you had to make an optimal porn video,
I love where this is going.
like
would it
what's the storyline? What's the like who's the guy? Who's the girl?
So, this isn't necessarily my thing, but I instantly can only think of the movie The Goods with the Don Reddy story or whatever it's called. The Goods, Live Hard, Sell Hard. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Where the girl wants to fuck the dude who's a kid, but looks like he's 40. That girl in that movie, there's a dude trying to buy a car, and he's like, nothing's selling me this car, only price, only reliability. And she starts telling him this like story and ropes him in of like, well, why wouldn't you need this car? And he's just like, don't need a car. And she's like, well, why? And he's like, because I'm like an apartment manager or whatever. And she's like, oh, well, what if I was like, she tells this bullshit story about her and her girlfriend in the shower about to fuck. And they have something going on and they need that guy there, but he can't get to them because he's in a different apartment he owns. So yeah, she sells him the car on it. But that scene is so fucking funny. That's the very first thing I think of is the landlord racing to get to his tenant's place because he knows that he's about to fuck two lesbians.
Right. So you can draw the rest of the conclusions from there.
Yeah. Either that or something to do with bed bugs, right?
Yeah, or TV bugs.
TV bugs, yeah.
Yeah, like Space Jam.
Space Jam is your ideal
Space Jam would be sick. Yeah,
Space
because like
porn.
it's like live action mixed with cartoons. You know what I mean?
Perfect. Yeah.
Similar to Jake's current background.
And we'll have VR headsets, so it feels like you're in the movie.
Yeah, you'd have Lola Bunny. You know what I mean? Lola Bunny in the mix.
Oh, I thought you were gonna be trying to fuck that dude who looks like Newman. He looks like Newman. It is Newman.
No, I think you're talking about Michael
It's
Jordan.
actually Newman. Yeah.
It's Newman.
Wait,
It's
so
not
who are
really
these?
him, it just looks exactly like him, guys.
Who are these people though that are behind you?
Who? Him?
The people that are behind him. Yeah, I don't understand who those people are.
I can't remember her name, but that's the character from Star Fox Assault on GameCube, I'm pretty
Yeah.
sure.
No, it's Star
Assault.
Fox Adventures.
It's Crystal.
Assault
I
was
said
the
it
actual
6
one that was
times.
like old.
Assault, the good one.
Yeah.
Assault's the actual good
decent.
one. Decent.
Assault was crazy because fucking you have to kill Peppy Hare at the end.
That's a spoiler.
He's the fucking final boss.
Ruined that game.
Yeah. Brand new game though, so we can,
I'll never play that game now.
Like you have to kill the fucking commander. Who's the commander of Star Fox? The one above the hair.
What's it?
I can't remember.
oh,
His
You're
another
talking
name.
about
Falco?
the
Slippy?
no. Well, Star Fox is the actual commander, but Peppy is like his father's old partner
Yeah,
or whatever.
yeah.
So
They
technically
used to
he
be in
has like more
squad
rank
together.
in like military or some shit like that.
Mhm.
And then they have
James
a guy
McLeod.
that they report to. Well, James McLeod is his dad. And then
Yeah.
they all have a guy that they report to that's just like some random fucking beagle or some shit. He's a dog.
Yeah, that's right.
General,
He's
whatever.
a dog,
his name is.
General Pepper.
General
Yeah,
Pepper.
yeah.
Oh, you can't see my phone without the fucking.
It
Put it in
is
front of your face.
Yeah, it's General Pepper.
Yeah.
Pepper School.
Yeah, he's the fucking final boss in Star Fox Assault, or one of the final bosses.
That's a pretty cool spoiler.
I thought you played it.
I did.
I was gonna say.
It's like a 20-year-old game.
I'm pretty sure he played it with me. Like,
I think I did, yeah. Star Fox Assault. When did it come out? I'm looking it up right now.
2003 or 4.
You know what I actually played today because it was on sale for $3 because of the Star Wars thing.
2005.
What game?
Star Wars Rogue Squadron.
that game is so good.
That's so good, man.
It was $3 because of the May the 4th sale or whatever, and I was like definitely getting that because I haven't played that in way too long, and it's hard. It's actually pretty hard. Like the first like 3 or 4 levels are pretty easy, and then there's one where there's just TIE bombers destroying this fucking city, and it's super difficult because you have to just like race to kill those things before they destroy it, and they don't give you that much time. Plus the controls are not great, like just because it's a fucking N64 or some shit, like a port on PC.
I liked Rogue Squadron 3 Rebel Strike. That was my favorite. That was the one where if you beat the mission, like the bonus mission was just a land version on that mission where you got a lightsaber and shit.
Yeah.
That's what
all
you
those
want.
games were good, man.
What do you think the best Star Wars game ever made is? There's 2 common ones that come up whenever I ask people this. So I'm curious to hear what you guys think.
One of them has to be Jedi Academy.
Okay, not what I was thinking. But that's a good game.
It's okay.
And pick one of the Knights of the Old Republic games.
I was going to say KOTOR 1 and Star Wars Battlefront 2 original for PS2.
I think Battlefront 1 was better than the second one.
I agree. Yeah.
I like Battlefront 2 more. It had like every character ever in it.
Yeah, I think that's part of the reason I didn't like it is because you had the Jedi like fucking everything up too much.
Yeah.
Whereas 1 was more straightforward and it was just
I mean, they're both
combat.
incredible.
They're fucking amazing.
My pick is KOTOR 1. I think KOTOR 1 is my favorite Star Wars game.
Shadows of the Empire.
Shadows of the Empire.
That game is so hard, dude.
Yeah,
but it is good.
so
incredible hard.
It's incredible. The story's incredible, but
if I remember correctly, though, it changes between missions, so like you don't always play the same gameplay style.
yeah, for
True.
sure. There's
Dax
different-
Rendar or whatever the fuck his name.
Dash, yeah.
Dash Rendar.
Yep.
Man.
Piloting the
That was-
Outrider.
Dude, those fucking-
His ship is the coolest.
Dude, those fucking big like snow monster guys, they'd scare the shit out of me.
The
Those big like
The
Bigfoot
Wampas,
dudes.
yeah, dude.
Yeah, man.
I would
The
open them up every
IG-88
time.
fight is so scummy, though.
Honestly,
I think
you could give pretty good props to the Lego Star Wars games because they're pretty good in their own right.
Man, Star Wars, the complete saga, the Lego Star Wars complete saga is unbelievable, man.
yeah, it is.
Me and Space have been playing it, and we're deep. We've already
It's a
finished
great.
like
It's one of the best couch co-op games you could think of, really.
Mm-hmm.
actually. Those Lego games are insanely good. They're so fun and so like they're so good with the source
Simple.
material while still making quick jokes and like
Yes.
Easter eggs and shit. So
And-
fun, man.
You couldn't have never played a video game in your entire life and still understand how to play it. There's like 3 buttons that do shit.
Yes. And they're still
Um,
fun. They're so fun, man.
I would venture to say that Fallen Order is one of the best games one of the best Star Wars games.
I have played. I've heard that a lot.
Yeah, it's really good. It's kind of it's almost a Star Wars meets like a Dark Souls type of thing.
Really?
It's very difficult unless you play it on like normal or something. Play it on hard.
Yeah. Well, everything's supposed to be super difficult on hard. Unless you're playing the new Streets of Rage.
But
and then you play it on easy and you get scammed. That's a
yeah, you
great
still get scammed.
It's a great game though, but it's
I mean,
like
it's just a beat 'em up. That's the thing.
Yeah,
Is like
that's
they
the
really
beat 'em
just
ups.
they took a beat 'em up that already was really good, and
Yeah.
they just polished it.
Mhm.
That's all they really did, which is all they needed to do. They didn't need to go any harder than that.
I've noticed a couple bugs here and there.
It's only been
Nothing
out for
game,
3 days, you know.
but that's what I was just about to say. It's been out for 3 days or 4 days or whatever.
Yeah.
So big fucking deal for being 4 days old. I was shocked by how polished it was when it released.
Yeah. It's
but
really
even
interesting too, though, to
Mine's
play a game that's
already too.
yeah. Well, here's the thing: is like to play a game that's like a classic beat 'em up in like today's graphical type, like with a 60 frame, just like a smooth experience. It was really, really cool.
So sad. That's fine. And the music, man, the music is perfect. Everything in that, the way they did all the unlockable characters is great.
Yeah, they just took the old characters and put them in the game the same way that they were in the original game, basically. I mean, they altered some of it, but
Barely though.
yeah.
And the new characters that are in there are awesome. They did a great job with the new characters.
Well, what's cool is that those old characters, they made the game like actually function with those old characters.
Yeah.
Like even with their old
They
move
didn't
list.
change the fundamental mechanics because
Yeah.
they kept the same as Streets of Rage 2 and 3,
Yeah.
where like mostly 2.
And I think even with the characters like the base game has, there's enough range there because Axel's like the well-rounded guy. And you have Blaze that's like a combo type of character.
Yep.
Cherry is like really high speed, sort of like a skate.
Yeah.
And then you have what's the big guy's name?
Floyd.
He's
He's
wicked
like a
nasty
mix between Dr. Zan and Max, and he's so good.
And he just throws people around.
Yep.
And then Adam is really filthy too. So
Yeah.
Adam's really well-rounded, but he's
Super
also
well-rounded. Yeah, he's the most well-rounded, I think.
I think he's the best character in the game, in my opinion.
He's up there. So is well, I don't really want to get into like spoiling any characters that are unlockable, just in case it's a brand new game. So, but some of the unlockable characters you get that are callbacks to some of the other games are absolutely the best characters in the game. Also,
Right. I still think they got to put Rue in there, dude.
yeah. Well, we haven't unlocked everybody, so I don't know if he's in there yet. But if you looked it up and saw that he's not, then man, they got to put Rue in there. We were talking about how they have to put Ash in there too. The secret, like, stereotypical gay guy character from 3 that they cut out in the American version. But he's the most overpowered character you could ever play as in those games. Like, who cares? Just put him in.
Yeah. I want to see if I can find a picture of him.
You guaranteed can.
Oh my god, there's a Streets of Rage wiki. Of course there is.
Yeah, dude, of course.
Let's see if I can get it. Yeah. He's like Mr. Slave from South Park.
Yeah, Mr. Slave from South Park, yeah. But he was a monster. All he did was this weird slap, and it would one-shot guys.
The concept art is savage. Imagine being the guy drawing the concept art.
I know, dude.
We just wanted to draw an overly flamboyant guy who one-hits everybody, and the guy's like, gotcha.
Look at how big his package is.
He's packed, dude. There's Rue, though.
Look at the bulge.
Jeez.
Out of this world.
I really miss Gax as a series.
Gax, man, Enter the Gecko was one of the most. It's like one of my favorite games on PS1. It was so funny. The guy that did the voice was amazing, and it was just constant movie quotes and one-liners.
Yeah, I really
a
miss Gex, man.
very fun. It was a very fun platformer, very well designed. It was so good, and that game is one of those games that came out that kind of is like a cult classic because it was beloved, but it wasn't a big deal because it was kind of off of the coattails of Super Mario 64 and like Donkey Kong 64, where they have that whole and Crash Bandicoot. Crash Bandicoot, same thing. Crash Bandicoot's different gameplay. It's more like Mario 64 and Donkey Kong 64, where it's like there's a game world with all these places you can go to, and each one you go in has a different style and different puzzles and stuff you do, and you have to go in there and find the different items and shit, and then you unlock more places as you make it through the stages.
Well, what's a game like that you played like a lot that you don't think anyone ever really paid any attention to? Because I know there's a bunch of like original Nintendo games or Super Nintendo games that like I played that I know that a bunch of people probably never even touched because they were just random.
I have way too many. I could go all day. On Sega Genesis. Sega Genesis was the earliest console that I have memories of, which is weird because we had an original Nintendo at the time, but we just always played Sega. So, like, I remember playing Nintendo when I was a kid, too, but the main console me and my brother played was Sega because we had Sonic, and we had Streets of Rage, and we had, like, a ton of games. But the ones that I think we played because of that nobody ever talks about is like Mutant League Hockey and Mutant League Football. There was a nasty real-time strategy, like cartoony game called General Chaos that we poured a ton of hours into. There was a game called Skeleton Crew that was like a co-op shooter game that was nasty. There's so many co-op games we played that nobody gave two shits about, dude.
Yeah, like games that you played basically just because you could both play it. You know,
and they had them at Blockbuster or some shit.
Yeah,
like two. What is it? Two Crude Dudes was a co-op beat 'em up for Sega that we smoked, and it was trash.
That sounds dope.
But dude, Zombies Ain't My Neighbors.
I was gonna say Zombies
Ain't My Neighbors is like, oh my god, that's one of the games we played so much as kids. I love that game so much.
That game's so weird, man.
Yeah, it's so good though.
You're like jumping on trampolines and shit. Like, what the fuck?
It's such a good concept too. Just like
Final Fight.
Final Fight, yeah.
That was a wicked good game.
Played a ton of Final Fight.
That was like the original Streets of Rage.
Maybe because it was an SNK arcade game.
Yeah, so I don't know if it's the same guys.
Streets of Rage was bare knuckle as an arcade game in Japan, so it might have been earlier there, but we just never saw it. But we damn sure saw Final Fight.
The two main characters in Final Fight are basically Axel and Max. I mean, it's the same style. It's the same characters.
It's Hagar and Guy or something like that.
Yeah,
or not Guy. Not Guy. Because they had a version called Final Fight Guy because it had the character Guy added to it, which is a dude that I'm pretty sure was from like Street Fighter Alpha or some shit. But they're all the same companies. The guys that made Street Fighter made Final Fight.
Yeah, I can't remember what the fuck his name was. But he felt like he was, it felt like they were the same characters, yeah.
I don't know which one came out first, but it's all good. They were the best beat-em-ups of the era, though. That's not even close to true, because Ninja Turtles was out, and they had Turtles in Time, and that still might be the best beat-em-up of all time.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Yeah.
89 was Final Fight.
Okay. So it's gotta be older. It's gotta be older than Streets of Rage. Streets of Rage 1 might have been in Japan.
It was 91.
I would say one of the games that I played a shit ton that I don't think anybody else played, which is crazy because it was awesome, but everyone else was busy playing Grand Theft Auto. And mine is the Godfather, the game.
Yeah, dude. I remember that game. All you would do is steal cars and try to drive them as fast as you could and then crash into walls because your car would shoot straight up in the air and just glitch.
That game was fucking crazy because it was like...
It was a good one.
It was like Grand Theft Auto, but you would like buy and own businesses. And then in addition to like the story missions, which was just the first 3 movies, or the first 2 movies, you would like move up through the ranks and you have to like fight for territory.
Yep.
It was like kind of
Dude,
like Saints Row.
You know what a wicked good. You can't even really say GTA game because it's not fully like that, but it's more story driven, a little more linear.
State of
but
Emergency.
No. Fucking true crime, dude. True crime, Streets of New York or Streets of
Yeah.
LA. That was such a good game. And it was almost like a Jet Li film, kind of. It was like a cop with like kung fu fights mixed in and stuff. It was awesome. I remember those games. I haven't played them in a long time.
Sleeping Dogs was supposed to be True Crime Hong Kong, and they lost the rights to call it that. So they-
Yeah, true.
Yeah, was it Jake and Hagar? Is that right?
It
That
sounds
sounds right.
about right. Yeah, Jake and Hagar. And Hagar is my good buddy Jesse Forbes. So if he hears this, he is Hagar. In my phone, I'll see if I could show it on here. In my phone, when I look at his contact, it's been like this for many years. His name in my phone is just Mistake Forbes, which is just because he's a mistake.
That's pretty savage.
His mom told him that.
Oh,
Which is a wicked funny story. She would hate that, but his mom said he was a mistake one time, and for everything after that, and he was a little kid. He's just like, yep, but I was a mistake, so who gives a fuck? And just used it. So he's Mistake Forbes, and his picture is just a straight shot of Hagar from Final Flight's face, and you'll never be able to tell because of this glitchy
that's
shit.
hilarious.
But it's just Hagar, yeah, and it's been that for years. Yeah.
The mustache is too good.
You guys ever play Colony Wars for PlayStation?
Nope. Never even heard of it.
Really?
I've
That
heard
was a
of
pretty
it. I
sick
haven't
game.
played it though.
You were like it was like a starfighter pilot game, and then every mission you would get points and you could upgrade your ship. And then every boss, when you beat them, you unlocked their ship model, and then you would have to upgrade their ship. So it was like it was sort of like Mega Man. Isn't Mega Man like that? Where when you beat an enemy, you get their power?
You get
or
their
something?
power,
Yeah.
basically.
Yeah,
A
yeah,
version
yeah.
of their power.
Colony Wars was like a starfighter version of that.
That's cool.
It was pretty wild.
Yeah,
This
I
is what I miss about I miss this about like Blockbuster,
Yeah.
because you don't have. It's just you don't stumble on games randomly anymore. Like you don't pay the money for a game and go, oh, this is either like this is really shitty or like this is really kind of good.
But you're safe. And that's another that's Blockbuster going down is one of the biggest injuries to the gaming industry ever. Because after Blockbuster went away, companies didn't care that there was no way for you to test their games, so they had no incentive to make games good out of the game.
Right.
Now you can just make a shit game, sell it for $60. Everyone goes, oh, I guess we have to buy it because that's how you get games now. They buy it, it's shit, and they go, oh, you can't refund it. You're just shit
Yeah.
on for $60.
They don't do demos anymore.
No,
Yeah, we actually
PlayStation
talked about
Underground,
this.
dude, what the fuck?
We talked about this a couple days ago when we were playing Warframe. How
Yes.
every game should be mandatory to have a demo or a period of time, like a trial period,
Yes.
even if it's like 2 hours
Mandatory.
or an
To
hour.
sell. To be allowed to be sold retail, it should be forced to have a demo that is free to play. That you go up on PlayStation and you can play that demo. And if that doesn't have a demo, it's not sellable. Because there has to be a way for you to be able to put game developers in check. And the way to do that is you play a demo, it's shit, and you don't buy their game.
Yes, you need to be able to know if you want to buy the product that you're
Yes.
buying.
Because right now you're forced not to be able to do that, and you just get stiffed. And like I don't as much anymore, but it shouldn't be like that. I shouldn't have to just never buy a Call of Duty game again. They should just have to start making them good, and they don't, and they never have to. There will be no incentive.
For me, when I go to click to buy a game, like unless it's something I know I'm getting, when I go to click to buy a game, there's always a moment of hesitation where I'm like am I gonna like this?
Is this going to actually be good? Yeah.
Yeah. And there wouldn't be that, I don't think, because you'd just be going, oh, I already played this game. Like I know I'm gonna enjoy this. I'm just gonna buy it.
Some of my favorite games I've ever played are games I discovered because they were just a question mark game on a shelf in the N64 section at Blockbuster in 1997.
Exactly.
You know
Army
what
of Two. Army of Two,
It
I saw at
was one
Blockbuster a
of-
million times. I was like, when is this game ever going to be used so I can just buy it for $10 or whatever?
just
Eventually it was.
the list is endless for us. It's endless for me and my brother. It's like everything. All we did, that's what we did. Every single Friday, we'd get picked up from school. We'd go get like dinner or something somewhere, whether it be pizza or McDonald's or some kind of something more than just home cooked meals for dinner because it was the weekend, usually like pizza or something. And then we'd go to Blockbuster and it was super cheap and we'd each get a game and a movie and you'd have it for 7 days. So every Friday we'd return the game and movie that we had and we get a new one. And every single week we would leave with the same movie and it was just a Jackie Chan movie, whether it be Rumble in the Bronx or Strike. We just only rented Jackie Chan movies ever. That's all we rented. And then the games we would just always rent something different every time and we would try new shit. And we found so many good games that way. Games that we would have never bought otherwise.
Exactly, yes. Like Area 51 I played on Xbox.
Dude,
Never would have played that.
Marilyn Manson is the fucking bad guy.
That was the old arcade cabinet game, right? Area 51.
No,
It's like
I had that game though for PlayStation 1 and that was terrible.
The what?
The light gun shooter. That's what you're thinking.
That's what I'm
of.
talking about.
Hilarious
It was called Area
game.
51, wasn't it?
Yes. Yep. There was another game exactly like it called Maximum Force or something like that that they had at the movie theater forever, and it was shit.
Maximum Force.
Yeah, dude. I mean, games. Let's see. I mean, we just talked about Dynamite Cop a little earlier ago. That game was a game nobody ever gave a fuck about that I put probably 1,000 hours into in the total in my whole life. We played that so much on Dreamcast, man.
Oh, dude.
Me and my brother times.
Maximum Force, pull the trigger.
You guys never played, or at least I think Dave did. You like beat 'em ups, but fucking Fighting Force, dude. Those games were sick.
Force was incredible, man.
Those
1
were
and
sick.
2. That was
fucking-
like what we assumed was supposed to be the sequel to Streets of Rage. We just
Really?
assumed because it was the true Streets of Rage in 3D.
Dude, it was cool. You could like rip the doors off of cars
Yep.
and like fucking throw
Dude,
people into, like burning.
Gotta
buildings
find
and
a
shit.
way to play that. We
Dude,
gotta find a way to play that
I
game.
remember I had the demo disc for that. It was like a Pizza Hut demo disc with like 6 demos on it.
Those
It
are
had
the-
Fighting Force, and you could like fucking.
It looks so bad. Oh my god.
You could pick up a barrel and throw it at a car, and the
Yep.
car would catch on fire, and then you could throw enemies into the fire and instant kill them.
Yeah.
It was
And
so
it was fun, dude. It was a good game. Really good game.
awesome. It was seriously awesome.
What's another one?
Hawk.
I had a good one in my head too. I
I'm
had a
pretty
really
sure
good
Armored
one.
Core 1 was on that demo disc.
It was.
Yes,
it was. The Pizza Hut demo disc was, yeah.
Yep.
Armored Core is another game that I never heard of ever the whole time I was growing up. And me and my brother played the first one, and we were like, this is too hard. So we never fucked with it either. But Nick is a monster at it and is obsessed with Armored Core super randomly. And he's the only person I've ever known that has ever even mentioned Armored Core to me. And he's
Yeah.
balls deep. Them all and shit.
I'm too deep.
The only time I remember it is from that demo disc, I'm pretty sure.
That was my path of exile. I was number 4 in North America region.
Jesus Christ.
That's fucked up, dude. Every time you tell me that, I have the same reaction where I'm just like, fucking how?
Why?
Just
It's
too many
but
hours.
you love the game. Yeah.
Too many hours. It was just I would wake up and go, "What do I do today? Oh yeah, Armored Core exists. That's my life."
Another game that I think we talked about recently while playing like Warframe or Streets or something, that was a game that a lot of people liked, but I didn't hear much about because everybody was obsessed with Tony Hawk. But I was one of those monsters.
Mira.
Dave Mira Pro BMX. Yep, Dave Mira Pro BMX. Loved that game. And the
Yeah.
second one.
What was that game where you're like the fucking downhill mountain biking and it got fucking more fever dream throughout the series? Like you start off doing like a mountain bike competition and then like the last level you were like going down a volcano in hell.
What?
Do you know what I'm talking about?
You
Down-
talking about Too Extreme or something?
Yeah,
That's another one game that's super random.
it was downhill domination.
I I don't remember that.
It was fucking crazy. Yeah, I think Descenders is sort of like it, but it's too realistic.
You know
Downhill
what game is
crazy.
not good?
Mm. Maximum Force.
Yes.
Maximum Force is not good. That's correct. Razor Scooter! Oh my god! This is a game that we beat the fuck out of and played tons of hours into for no reason.
I don't know how I played this game, but it was like basically just Tony Hawk with scooters.
Jake is going to explode when he sees this because we put so much time into this for no reason, and it controlled exactly like Tony Hawk.
It's literally Tony Hawk with scooters.
Yep. It's not even that bad, man.
No. It's almost like they just ported the game and were like, let's just render this scooter instead.
You guys remember some of the random dog shit skating games that came out before they really figured out skating games?
Oh yeah.
Not really.
What was the wicked shit arcade one? It was like downhill skating or some bullshit. It was so bad, man. It was so bad. It was a Sega arcade game. I'll never find it. There's no way.
You know what actually was the best skateboarding anything in any video game up to that point?
Tony Hawk Ride.
The Simpsons skateboarding.
No, it was the level in Beavis and Butthead on Super Nintendo.
That's amazing.
Actually, it was Captain Crunchling Adventure.
Oh shit.
Oh, I found it. It was called Top Skater. Top Skater.
What was your guys' favorite like Midway arcade game, like Defender or Joust and like that era?
What?
What was your favorite like Midway? Was it Midway arcade? They did like Joust, Defender.
Well, they did like Mortal Kombat and all that too.
Mortal Kombat. Like, what are you like old school arcade?
They did NBA Hang Time.
Yep.
Who did NBA Jam? Was that
Defender.
Midway?
I always thought Defender.
Midway did a lot. Midway did a lot. This is the game.
Cruising USA and shit.
How do you screen share?
Dude, I played Cruising USA every time I went to the like fucking bowling alley or whatever.
Yeah.
Anytime I found that game, I was like, I'm immediately playing this.
This is the game. This is the game I was thinking of. I'm not gonna play though. Yeah, this game. This was some bullshit skate game that I had when I was younger, and it was based on some arcade game. It's called Top Skater. It's shit. It's super terrible. And then there was
so go to your Skype and hit the little window thing.
Yep, I got it. This right here. And you guys see that?
Oh my god. He looks like he's not even on skate. It looks like a
yeah, this game
that looks awesome.
So bad, dude.
It looks like a hoverboard.
Oh, dude, there's a game that I know.
You're just going straight.
That's hilarious.
There's a game that Wesley and I loved playing together when we were kids that I'm pretty sure he's the only one that I know of that played this too. I'm going to pull it up and I'm going to see if you can recognize it.
Mm-hmm.
This is a good game. I like this. I like playing this game where we just pull up gameplay from something and then we have to guess what it's from.
We just talk shit about it. Yeah.
We just are. Yeah.
Did you guys ever play Ball Breakers?
Ball Breakers?
Yeah. Dude.
Oh,
wait.
What game is this?
I have no idea what this is.
This is Ball Breakers. No, I've never seen this. What is this trash?
It's so bad. You have to you play as these little robots that they get their. I'll show you the trailer because the trailer's
oh shit! This is various levels too.
Dude, this makes me think of a wicked nasty original Xbox game that me and my brother poured time into that I think is one of the best party games ever made.
Gravity Rush?
Nope.
Fusion Frenzy or whatever?
Yes. Fusion Frenzy, dude. Fucking Fusion Frenzy. It's crazy. It's like Mario Party fucking mini games.
Did any of you guys play Marble Blast Ultra?
Yes, dude. That one came with that one came with Windows, didn't it? They came with like Windows XP, like a marble it up or whatever.
You know who
Maybe.
had a really good resume was Vicarious Visions.
Yes.
They had a wicked good resume, dude. They did oh my god, they did Pro Darts. So there you go. They did Spider-Man.
No,
They
no.
did Tony Hawk's Pro Skater. They did all those games. They did Jedi Knight 2. And then they also did what was it, like Guitar Hero? I think they did 3 and like all the ones after that, like the spin-off ones. And Destiny 2.
Did they actually do Destiny 2?
Yeah.
No way.
This one was my fucking favorite studio back in the day, man.
Can you guys see what I'm showing right now?
Yeah.
I'm either
Another
showing
skating game. Dude, 989.
That's
Dude, they made
classic.
didn't they make Cool Borders?
Yeah, and they did
They did like
fucking-
NFL Blitz, I think, maybe. Was it
they
NFL
did,
Blitz or was it?
They did Jet Moto, dude.
Jet Moto's so good. Jet Moto 2 was
Oh,
the
and
best.
Siphon
That was so
Filter.
good.
Look at this shit.
And Siphon Filter. Yeah, Siphon Filter was a great game too, man.
They did EverQuest?
Dude. Wait,
They
oh,
did
Jake, you didn't
Ever-
have an N64, right?
Who,
Did
me?
you ever play? You didn't have an N64, right?
No, I had a PlayStation.
I
Oh,
did. Yeah.
so I used to play this game called Wave Race,
Yes,
Yes.
Wave Race
Dude.
4 was
and it
amazing.
was nasty.
nasty,
Wave Race is-
nasty.
Wave Race is pretty sick.
It's Jet Moto is a similar like baseline game, but goes
Yeah.
way off the chart.
Dude, Jet Moto is so crazy. Like those games
Yeah.
were so good. And Siphon Filter, that's another series that what happened to it, dude.
Yeah, very
Those
good.
games
The
were
first
so
few were
good.
amazing.
And
It
then
had the
when-
worst. It had the worst running I've ever seen in a game. to
you
this
were like
day.
flinging your
He did
arms.
this crazy flail, and his feet slid like crazy, but he didn't move anywhere near the pace that his animation looked like it was moving.
That was one
Well, it
thing.
didn't
Like when
matter. The game was so fun.
I think when I played GTA 4, I was like, this is like really amazing how, like, just going downstairs and stuff, like the animations are actually coordinating with the fucking actual physics of the map.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
you were like, I can't believe they've advanced this far. Like,
Where's my
Seriously.
I want to just the first level. I'll show you guys what Dave and I are talking about.
Yeah.
Is this
we
Wave
gotta
Race?
see him running. This is Siphon Filter 1. Watch the way he runs. God, this is so nostalgic, man.
This is
This
sick.
game was so good.
You can light
Watch.
people on fire with
Second
the
it starts, watch him run. Ready? Dude, this game was amazing though. And there
You
were
know, it
some
reminds me of
hard-ass
the-
sneaking stages where you'd have to go into like a banquet and sneak around wearing a suit and shit. And you could not do
my
anything.
God,
You
why?
couldn't be
Why
seen.
did he just dive through the door?
This had a ton of good guns in it and shit. This was a wicked good game.
Oh,
It reminds
From
me of
far,
Matrix,
far
though.
before. What'd you say?
It reminds me of Matrix, where like you're just it's third person, but you're right behind the guy for some reason.
Yeah.
It's not
Dude,
over the
Matrix
shoulder.
video game was nasty. Enter
Yeah.
the Matrix or whatever. That was a wicked good game.
Yeah, it was.
The second one was wicked good too, where you play as Neo.
I didn't play that.
You play as Neo through the first 3 movies,
That's insane.
and you could actually like you use melee weapons and shit. And when you do in Matrix Reloaded, where he's at the mansion and he's fighting all those fucking guys with like medieval weapons.
Yeah.
That mission is in the game, and you actually get to use every weapon that's on the wall. You can like grab off the wall. Like, I don't
That's
remember
fucking
ever
insane.
doing that. That came out in like 2004, 2005. Like that shit didn't happen again until like Dead Rising, where just anything you can find is a weapon.
Yeah.
Which is why Dead Rising 1 is so fucking good. It'll never be topped.
Dead Rising
Like
is a great game.
the Lion King for Super Nintendo is the hardest game I've ever played in my entire life.
Dude,
I think
Aladdin as
Nintendo,
well.
it's up there.
Aladdin is tough,
up
but
there.
with
dude.
Aladdin you can use like cheat codes and shit. I'm pretty sure to skip levels.
Lion King was one of the scummiest games I remembered playing as a kid.
Okay.
Because when you
Return of
ride
the
the
Jedi.
ostrich, the game's over.
Oh,
Like
Red
that
Return
extra
of the
level
Jedi.
force.
Super Star Wars in general. All three of them
Yeah.
are bullshit. They're
They're
so
all
hard.
wicked
They're good
hard.
games. They're just so hard, dude. Speaking of games that me and my brother loved that are obscure games that people didn't talk about a lot, you had an N64, Seth. Obviously, you did too, Nick. And you might remember this also. Do you guys remember Nightmare Creatures?
Yeah,
It's
bro.
a co-op beat 'em up where you're fighting monsters at night and shit.
My neighbors had that game. They had that for N64. They were
That game
terrified.
is so good, man. That was so fun.
Dino Crisis was sick too, man.
Oh my god. How is there? They need to do a remake of that so bad.
Yeah.
I
That
think
game was amazing.
I think I played this game, but I don't really remember it very much.
I want
Nightmare
like,
Creatures.
Yeah,
I
it
want
looks
a
crazy
game-
as shit.
I want like a survival horror game to break the mold, similar to the way that like, not saying that Amnesia: The Dark Descent is the greatest survival horror game, but that like started a trend with just wicked cool shit, like physics-based puzzles and the more atmospheric horror than jump scare stuff.
Mhm.
When I think of survival horror games that I don't think get enough credit, I instantly think of Galarians for PS1. That was a game that me and my brother played. He played and beat all of them. And it's a survival horror game that's like almost like a Stranger Things plot where it's like a bunch of kids that got experimented on and were given like psychic powers and shit.
Oh, yeah.
Very, very good. Very good. And hard. But I just never hear anybody talk about that.
Wasn't that one? It had a weird combat system, didn't it?
It did, yeah.
It was like it was almost like a bullet. No, it wasn't like a bullet hell.
No. It was like all psychic abilities and shit like that.
Yeah.
And you had like a chemical that you had to keep up in your body. That was what you used to do the abilities and shit. And there were like injections you had to do and stuff. It was good. But you were talking about survival horror games, and I was thinking of one other. Oh, Fatal Frame. Fatal Frame is another survival horror game that is different.
Oh, I forgot about that game.
To fight people, you know what I mean? You're just
And
taking
you had to
Get
let
out.
yourself get scared in order to beat them.
Yeah.
You had to
Yeah,
have
that game was crazy.
possible.
Which game? Fatal Frame?
Fatal Frame, yeah.
Yeah,
I also played this game called Parasite Eve 2.
Parasite Eve was
Oh
amazing.
my god.
Amazing.
And I was like too young to like understand it. I was like, I don't know what's going on.
Oh,
How like it's too
Parasite
scary.
Eve, man. It's such a good survival horror game.
I'm playing
Also,
through Silent Hill
probably coming. You're playing through Silent Hill 2 right now?
for the
That's
first
the best
time.
one. The best one.
I've played 3 and 4 already. I played 4 as a kid, and I played 3 a couple years ago.
The first one is the most iconic, but the second one is the best.
Everyone's told.
Similar to how like GoldenEye is the most iconic, but Perfect Dark is probably the better game.
Yeah.
The two, as far as what you're able to do, the guns and like the controls and the mechanics and everything, it's just a more polished GoldenEye.
I would really enjoy a survival horror game to have. I want a co-op survival horror game that's terrifying.
Yes.
Like, more than anything, I want to have like a one-on-one, like 2-player survival horror that scares me as much as something like Alien Isolation.
Mm.
It would have to be something like that game you guys were playing on here that was like some
Yeah,
random
that's what I was thinking. Yeah.
Cry of Fear was scary, but it didn't really work. That was the problem.
It wasn't scary at all. It was hilarious, actually. Because
I was gonna say, it
The
didn't seem
second-
scary to me. It seemed hilarious to me.
Yeah,
No,
the
you should
second
actually play. Dave,
when
I,
you
Guys
started
spent like
spawning
20
enemies.
minutes trying to jump around on vents and shit, just geeking.
I honestly recommend you at least try the single player, because the single player is different.
That's what I
Yeah,
mean. I bet like single player's fine, but when there's 4 of us on our own remote server, and Jake is spawning in enemies that are stacked on top of each other's shoulders, that's when it gets a little bit. It gets more funny than scary.
True.
Yeah.
And maybe that's a problem because it's hard to make things scary when everyone's experiencing them.
I think that Silent Hill 1 is still to this day the scariest game I've ever played.
Really?
I think playing Silent Hill 1 when I was a kid and it first came out, playing that game was impossible because it was too nerve destroying because you can't see shit. It's just only fog that you can't see anything and you have no ammo and there's nothing you can do and you just have to try to run away.
Did you play
But listen,
Outlast?
Jake, I didn't play Outlast. No.
Outlast is really good. The first one's really good. The second one's okay, but like the first one's definitely better. And it's I mean, with any of those games, you have to have headphones, dark room, by yourself, kind of thing.
What about you, Nick? What survival horror games do you like?
I mean, I've always been a fan of the Resident Evil ones. Honestly, I don't really get into horror stuff too much, movies or games.
That's
For
right.
some reason, it just kind of is lost on me. I don't really
Well,
feel
the
scared
selection
playing them or watching them.
for like survival horror video games is definitely like smaller. There's a smaller pool.
Man, yeah.
Yeah, true.
And that's the problem is that like, I'm playing through Cold Fear soon too. I'm doing a Clear Shots plays of Cold Fear. Did you guys ever play that?
I have played that, I think.
Wes and I talk about it all the time. It came out right after Resident Evil 4, and it had the same combat style, but you're this Coast Guard guy. Your Coast Guard ship is like the closest to this emergency beacon that the Navy sets off. And the Navy's like, you guys should just check it out, see what's going on, and then report back. And then you get there, and you see like a bunch of dead soldiers, and you're like, what the fuck happened to our Navy, our like Navy SEALs? And it's like a standard like zombie infection plot. But it's fucking terrifying. And that game is so good. And there needs to be more shit like, sometimes the cliche works, you know?
Yeah, I agree, yeah.
Like,
but the cliche now though is like haunted houses basically.
Yeah.
Like
Right.
Visage. Like I bought Visage like not too long ago and I want to do a playthrough of it, but my shit won't record it for whatever reason.
That sucks.
But the game is really good and it kind of reminds me of like PT where there's no action sequences really. You're not interacting with a lot of shit, but it's a lot of walking slowly through things and solving the puzzles. Which is cool to me because Layers of Fear did that too.
Rumor has it that Kojima and Norman Reedus are working with Sony and Konami to work out a deal to make that Silent Hills game that they wanted to make out of PT. And I really hope that happens because PT was incredible.
There's no reason not to do it.
Yeah,
Actually, that was one I remember. Was Fear. Just straight Fear.
Fear. Yeah, dude.
Fear's sick.
I remember playing
the second
that
one was good too.
Being, like pleasantly surprised.
Also,
Fear
Doom 3, man. Doom 3 was like a straight up first-person survival horror game.
It
was so much different than the originals. Doom 3 was amazing.
You know, I was talking about multiplayer survival horror that was still scary for everyone involved.
Yeah.
I'd have to go with Resident Evil Outbreak. Did you guys ever play that one?
A little bit, yeah.
It was cool because it was Resident Evil, and it was giant open maps, and even if you played offline, you still had AI teammates. But everyone had to go off into their own areas of the map in order to beat the level quick enough to like not die.
Mm-hmm.
And I never played it online. I think maybe a couple times I did. But watching people do it is so crazy because you're like watching 4 different screens or 3 different screens.
Yep.
It's like, oh, well, you know,
we have to get this game though.
Yeah, it was fucking weird.
Early online game.
Yeah. I wish there was more games like that. Like, I always talk about, like, I've never played it, but if I did ever play Doom 2, it would have been with Sean Linehan, Paul Gamble, and Zach Patrick, and we would have played through co-op 4-player split screen
on the hardest difficulty.
And what we would have done,
don't do.
What we would have done is exclusively not be together. We would exclusively branch off and then meet up at the end of the level, and it was the coolest shit.
Dude, Me and Schwalik one time sat down and beat Doom 1, 2, and Final Doom all on Nightmare co-op, and it was one of the most bullshit things I've ever done to this day. It was such bullshit. Because monsters just respawn. So
Yeah.
it
Yep.
just, oh, you
You
die.
know what's great is
every-
that
It's how fast can you get to the end at that point?
Yeah,
Yeah.
which we could do it fast.
well, what's great is that feeling of like trying to do something for super long and then finally do it. Like I remember Power Rangers the movie I played a million times,
Super
and I
Nintendo.
always would get to fucking Ivan Ooze, and he would
Yep.
just fuck my day every
Scumbag.
single time.
Scumbag. Yep.
And eventually I beat him, and I was like, "This is it. That's it. I can die happy." Like, you know what I mean? Like, there's a.
That's how I felt the first time I ever beat Metroid Prime 1. I beat that boss and was just like, oh my god, I'm never doing that again. I'm
Yeah.
never doing it again.
Yeah.
It was just so hard, dude. But rewarding.
I felt like that as a kid with those Lord of the Rings fucking games because they were super difficult at the end because it was just like, oh, everything you ever fought, you're fighting right now all at once. And also don't let them get past you because they're going to break down the door and you lose the mission.
Yeah.
That
The new
fucking
God of
mission-
War had some of those too for me.
Yeah.
I hate that shit. Look this up. It was Lord of the Rings, the Two Towers for PS2, and the level was called the Breaching Wall or the Breached Wall, and you had to fucking defend a gate against mini bosses for like 30 minutes. It was fucking
Yeah, dude.
it
Those
was-
games were good, but bullshit. Man.
They were so stupid. And like if you use this is going back to cheat codes too. Because with those games, if you use cheat codes, you didn't actually you couldn't get the final ending. You had to beat the game without cheats to get to the epilogue.
Yep.
And
The best cheat codes for me were when we played NBA Jam, and you could put in like certain numbers. And my dad and my brother and me would always put in the tiny players and the big heads, and every single time, and the rooftop court. And so we did that so many times that when we played the game normally, it just felt wrong. Like it didn't feel like the same game.
Yep.
So you have to have the tiny players and the big heads. It's the only way.
That's how GoldenEye got for us because we spent so many
Yeah.
years doing 4-man death matches, only playing in the temple map, and you would do turbo mode slappers only. Everybody would crouch. So you would just crouch and you'd see a guy who's like on one knee with a foot up, sliding around, just like all over the place sliding, going and then we would just joust and you'd be going super fast and you could only use slappers. So we would end up just like two guys across from each other and they would just come in and joust at each other, sliding on one foot, trying to slap at each other. And every time they'd interact, you'd hear the classic like of a guy getting chopped.
It's just the game at that point, though. You can't
Yeah.
play it any other way.
God, that game is so good. I think the game that I played the most amount of 4-person couch deathmatch with by far is Duke Nukem 64. There's
I thought you were gonna say
close.
Far Cry Instincts.
Nope, I've never even played that game.
For me, it's
So,
007
yeah.
Nightfire.
Nightfire. That's
Nightfire
a
was
really good
awesome.
one. Awesome.
Mine's Time Splitters too. I don't even think I could question it at this point.
Time Splitters was made by the guys that made Perfect Dark, wasn't it? Not Rare, but the people that worked at Rare that made
Yeah,
Perfect
yeah.
Dark. Eventually
I-
left and made Time Splitters, right?
They also made Second Sight. Do you remember that game?
No.
That game was wild. It was made by those guys, and it was this like sort of like an action shooter beat 'em up sort of thing, but you would have psychic powers. Or you could see in the future or some shit. It was weird. I don't remember it very well. But
An underrated shooter is Red Faction. Red Faction's
Oh,
wicked good.
the original
PS2.
one was
The
so good.
original one was amazing. Yeah, amazing.
Even Gorilla was kind of fun because you could just blow shit up. That's all I did was blow shit up.
Never played
I
it.
think it was on the 360, I believe.
It was cool, dude. And there wasn't destructible like in the first two Red Faction games, the environment was everything was destructible. But then in Gorilla, it was exclusively like buildings and stuff. But it was so good that you didn't even care.
You just blew a building.
So,
That's all
Is
you
it
did.
Rage like that, where you can just blow everything up, or am I thinking of something else?
You're thinking of something else. I don't remember Rage being like that.
Rage made by the guys that made Duke Nukem.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Dude, who's the fucking the president of id Software? He was on Joe Rogan, and that was the best podcast I'd ever seen.
He's not with id anymore, but at one point he was on the id team. His name is John Carmack. Carmack. Yes. He worked on Doom. He
Quake,
worked
I
on
believe.
Wolfenstein. He worked on Quake, and now he works for Oculus Rift, and he's worked on VR technology.
Yeah.
That was a wicked good episode. Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, it's great when Rogan has those guys on there. And then he goes, yeah, I had a T1 line installed in my house to play Quake. He says it every time because he has to bring that up.
Because he wishes he was back in those days.
Yeah.
I love that episode a lot, but I got so annoyed every time he was trying to talk about a different video game, and Joe Rogan's like, yeah, that part about that reminds me of Quake, and then it's like, I don't want to listen to Joe Rogan talk
It's all he knows, though.
at all.
But that's all he knows, so he can only relate it to Quake.
But how is that the only game you've ever played? I just don't get it.
Because he was not much of a gamer.
That's fair.
He randomly discovered that and was like, I'm obsessed with this super bad.
Yeah, he basically said he just played Quake only and then had a T1 line just for Quake. And then stopped playing because he was like, I'm gonna get too addicted to this. Which I understand. I think Rogan's good at recognizing when he needs to stop doing something. You know?
Yep.
And then he started doing it again like a year ago.
Stop again. Yeah.
Yeah. And he's like, can't do it. Gonna just get too addicted to it.
Yep.
But also he's playing against Jamie, who's actually pretty good at most of the games. I've watched Jamie play like PUBG and shit.
Yep.
And he's pretty good.
It's not bad, yeah.
I spilled water all over my mechanical keyboard.
I love that.
That's amazing.
Extreme rip.
See, that's a game I wish people would play more of, though, is PUBG. I feel like it died out pretty quickly.
Yeah, Fortnite came out, and everybody went to that.
PUBG is still super popular.
Yeah, and it plays really well. It really
popular.
does.
It is popular still, yeah. It's not that it's not.
I just wish...
It's really a great game. It almost gets tainted by the fact that Fortnite came out and, like, all the kids took over and Battle Royale. You know, like there's sort of a stigma to Battle Royale now.
Which is a bummer, but whatever. Like there's stigmas all the time on types of games. They come and go, and it is what it is.
Even Apex is a pretty good game. Like I enjoy Apex just because I like Titanfall.
Possibly most of all.
Yeah.
I didn't play Titanfall, but
Titanfall 2 is fucking one of the best games I've ever played, story-wise, for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely play Titanfall 2 if you haven't.
I haven't.
It's it's the same team. It's Respawn, so it's those guys that left. I believe it was after Modern Warfare. That same team, they started Respawn, and they did Titanfall, which was an Xbox exclusive, and feels a lot like Call of Duty, but like it's
Titanfall 1 was on PC.
What? Oh yeah, it was Xbox and PC.
Yep. I had a major problem on release where they released physical copies because it was an 80 gig download. So they were like, oh, we'll release the physical copies. And then the physical copy discs were just corrupted download links for the game anyway. So they were like, oh, well, it's an 80 gig download, and like 50 gigs of that is uncompressed audio.
Oh, that's awesome. See, the thing is, Titanfall 1 was a great game, but it was multiplayer only.
Yeah.
Whereas Titanfall 2 actually has a really good campaign to it.
Yep. Dude.
And the guy from Critical Role, Matt Mercer, does the voice of the main character too, which is pretty cool.
Oh, that's cool. What do you think your favorite like story driven games are? That's a tough one to answer. I get that. But are there any that stick out immediately that you're like, man, that's like my favorite story I've ever played in a game?
Like I'm gonna only say like the most recent things I've played. Like Spider-Man was really good for PS4. Jedi Fallen Order was really good, just because they're fresh in my mind.
Mhm.
But to me,
But
Halo
are there
3,
any older ones that are like memorable where you're just never going to forget having
I mean,
played
Halo
them?
3, obviously, I've never
Halo
played.
3,
Even
yeah,
Halo 1.
Halo 1 for sure. Halo 1 for me more than 3 because of the nostalgia factor, and I wasn't ready for it. It
Yeah.
blew us away so bad.
Gears of War 2.
Mass Effect 2 is mine.
Oh, wow. Mass Effect 2, yes.
Like,
Very good.
specifically the second one. Because, like, there was something so awesome about going out, recruiting all these mercenaries, and then doing the loyalty quests and getting all that backstory. And then the suicide mission. And, like,
Dude, the finale mission in that game is, like, one of the greatest, like, finale missions ever in a game. It's so much story, so well told.
But as far as older than that,
Gears of War 2 for me, and Ocarina of Time as well.
Ocarina of Time, word. That's going to be an answer for pretty much everybody.
Final Fantasy X for sure.
Oh, wow. Yep. Final Fantasy X, big time.
And before that, Resident Evil. Pick one of the first 3.
Like 2 or something. Yeah.
2 or 3, probably. I think 3, I was super happy the first time I beat it. Because I've told this story before, but I didn't have memory cards when I was a kid. Yeah. So when I played Resident Evil 3, I had to fucking start from the beginning.
Had to beat it in one sitting, which is not easy. I mean, it is. Like it is when you have internet and shit and you master it.
So like
not when you have it. Yeah. I think the first story-driven game that I remember playing that was just like unforgettable is probably Ocarina of Time.
Yeah.
But other than that, I feel like it's going to be all RPGs. I feel like it's all the Japanese RPGs I've played, like Chrono Trigger, Earthbound, Final Fantasy VII, Final Fantasy
Witcher
VI.
3 is really fucking good.
Oh, Witcher 3 has an amazing story. Yep. I'm super deep in that. Yeah, what about you, Nick?
What's up?
Any games that the story is like the most memorable game stories?
Like I'm talking like, yeah, I'm thinking of like games where I like basically cried. I know in Gears 2 I cried.
Yeah.
Oh, games. I can do games that we cried at, which is a lot of them.
There's a lot of those, yeah.
Gears 2 fucking ruined me, and Gears 3 fucking ruined me. But we can't say what happens because David.
I haven't played them yet, so don't do it. Don't tell
what happens. But 2 and 3 will wreck your fucking.
Can't wait. One of my favorite things is when game storytelling is good enough to choke me up.
It's so good. The Last of Us made me ball my eyes out.
The Last of Us, the first 10 minutes is one of the most brutal intros ever in a game.
Yeah.
Last of Us is undeniable. Games that made me cry.
Metal Gear Solid 3, the very end.
Metal Gear Solid 3 finale. Like the fight with your boss, with the boss in that is just masterpiece of storytelling. It's so good. Shadow of the Colossus, wicked bad made me cry when I played that for the first time.
I never played Shadow of the Colossus, but I have it. I'm gonna start playing it once I'm done.
It's a masterpiece. It's gonna blow you away.
Ico or Ico.
Yeah, Ico. Yeah.
Same company fucking got me.
Oh, that's a great game too. Let's see.
I cried a lot losing in WWE SmackDown versus Raw 1.
I was a kid playing Soul Calibur 2 because it was just so cheap that you
ring out. You just get ring out every single time.
Yeah.
Dude, I would get there. It's either SmackDown versus Raw 1 or SmackDown versus Raw 06, where if you go through SmackDown, you have to, or whatever promotion he was in, you have to fight Batista before you can do like the WWE Championship. But if you lose to Batista, you pretty much had to do like a whole story run again. He was always the final guy, and I never beat him. I never beat him.
No,
And I remember I lost to him.
it's definitely Soul Calibur because Nightmare just does the spinning uppercut and knocks you off the map.
Oh,
That's
yeah.
such a cheap game. Such a cheap game. So here's a whole different can of worms that led to crying for the wrong reasons because you're just so pissed you're crying, which is games that were blatant arcade coin machine scams
Yeah.
that got turned into console games for no reason. And every fighting game of that era had that problem where they would make characters so cheap and they would
The Mortal
program
Kombat,
them.
early Mortal Kombat games.
Early Mortal Kombat was guilty.
Yeah.
Street Fighter, same thing. And what it was you would hit the input to tell your guy what to do, and then the game would take the data of your input, see what you're telling the guy to do, and then make their guy react to it in a counter, and there's nothing you can do about it. So
I
you
swear
just
to fucking God that
lose.
Dragon Ball Ultimate Tenkaichi games, every
Yeah.
single one of them had those because there was a thing where you would engage a move and then you had to hit one of the 4 face buttons and you would never, ever beat the computer. Ever. They knew exactly which face button you pressed, so they would just counter
what
it.
you press first and counter it. Yes. And that shit is bullshit. That's such cheap difficulty. And coin machine games like any arcade game that is designed in the 90s
Your coins.
was
It's
designed to eat your coins. So they would put bosses in there that were intentionally unbeatable just to get you to pour coins and try over and over and over again.
Right.
And that's bullshit. And then you'd play them on console and they wouldn't give you unlimited continues, and that was bullshit.
Yeah.
What
And there was
needed to
some
happen
games
was-
that I wouldn't mind though.
But-
I wouldn't mind putting coins into certain games, like X-Men Arcade. I would
That's
play
the-
so much of that.
top beat 'em ever made, and you just of course you're putting the coins in because
Yeah.
it's one of the best arcade games ever made. Time Crisis 1 and 2, you just are going to put those coins in because the experience is one of a kind.
Yeah.
There's still nothing else like that, and arcade games don't matter anymore, which is such a bummer. I wish arcade games
Yeah.
still happened because that was so cool. There were
I mean,
so
that's
many
why
good
Streets of Rage is so cool right now. Is we
Yeah.
all get to.
And it's flexible enough too. Like it'll penalize you, but it won't. Like you can get extra lives, and it'll just take points from you. Lifetime points, basically, is what it does. So like you can still play the game and have fun. It's not really fucking you over.
Mhm.
You just maybe have to play it more, which boo-hoo. Because it's a good game anyway.
Yeah, it's like, oh wow, play it more.
Yeah.
Um,
I have this fucking
So-
note in my podcast thing. Because I wanted to ask, because I know everybody's had this fucking experience.
Mhm.
Where your friend, you and your friend are smoking weed. You're at your friend's house, right?
okay.
And your friend's parents catch your friend smoking weed, and they wicked disapprove.
Oh yeah.
Because I'm pretty sure that's happened.
I
to
have
everybody.
the best story about that ever. The best.
Because
It
it's
will never
so
get
awkward for the person,
I have
for you,
lots
because you're watching your parents yell at your fucking
So-
friend.
the best story about that ever involves people that I don't want to name names just in case it has any impact on their
Yeah,
jobs.
definitely don't. I wouldn't
To
say
say
no.
names, but it's all people we know. It's all people we know that I'll tell you guys who it is after, like off the record, who it was. But it's all people we know very well, and we're all hanging out at one of the members of my old band Burns' house.
I already love this.
Back
Here we
in the day,
go.
we all smoked, and we would all smoke, and we would write, and we would play, and it was just productive. It was all good, and we'd play video games, and we'd go out in the garage and rehearse. We'd play video games, and at one point, at the time this happened, we had all our gear in the basement, and we would rehearse in the basement, and then we'd play video games, rehearse in the basement. We'd do it back and forth, right? So we were down in the basement one time smoking, and I think we had a bong, and we were ripping a bong, and there was like 6 of us, and the person whose house we were at, their dad, who also lived there, came downstairs into the basement while we're all openly ripping.
Now, when
And-
we're talking dad, though, are we talking like hard ass dad, like jacked up, like
Oh,
Beefy's
no,
dad kind of guy?
Super beloved dad that we all love and Max respected. and
Okay.
made it feel even worse. And he didn't do shit about it. He came downstairs, and when he came down, we were all shitting our pants so bad. And then one of the people with us literally takes the piece and in front of all of us hands it to the dad and goes, "Do you want to hit this?" And he just ignores him and walks around the corner to go get laundry and goes upstairs. And we're all just like, "No, no, why?" And that is maximum awkwardness.
That's the best.
Because there's nothing you can do or
I
say.
don't know who it is, but I can't do that to those guys. But I'll
Right.
tell you guys off air, and you'll love it. You'll love it, dude. It's so funny.
I never had a weed catching story because I only ever really smoked at Brandon Trail, and it was always kind of all right or whatever.
Yeah, it
I
was
do
like
remember.
It was pretty safe there. Yeah.
we just yeah, it was safe.
I don't know. I don't. We never really got caught doing anything. I remember. One of my cousins that I used to hang out with, we got caught. We got caught because I brought alcohol over, and we were drinking it. We like put it in Gatorade bottles. It was just vodka, and we were just like drinking vodka and Gatorade throughout the night. And I remember we put the Gatorade bottles by the sink, and when my aunt and uncle were like rinsing the bottles out to put them in the recycling bin, they could smell the vodka still in the bottle, and we got in trouble. But it wasn't anything major. It was pretty much just like, you're not doing that again, or if you do that again, you're never coming over here. And then I never ended up going back over there anyway, because like I was like, fuck, if I can't drink, I'm not hanging out with you. I was like 14.
Yeah, you're like, I'm just gonna go to Jonesy's.
Dude. This one I will say names because it's not anything illegal other than underage drinking, but who gives a fuck? I love this person so much too, but it's just too funny not to bring up. A very, very close friend of mine, my friend Rachel Capola, her little brother Dylan, when we all first met was like senior year of high school, right? And so me and Rachel and my ex-girlfriend Maria and one of my best friends, my buddy Justin, who dated her at the time, we would all hang out at her place. And it was like the summer vacation after we all graduated from high school and everybody was free for once. And it was like maxing out every day because everyone's about to go to college, right?
Right.
So the first day of summer vacation, literally day one, her little brother Dylan, who I love, Dylan's great, but we made fun of him for this forever. I still make fun of him for it. But day one of summer vacation, and he was like a freshman in high school. So it's even worse for his ass because he's not free. He's going back to fucking school. Day one of fucking summer vacation, him and a bunch of his buddies break into their mom's liquor cabinet and drink a ton of their booze, and everybody just gets blacked out and hose pukes all over the house and shit. So he super got caught, and day one, like day two, they wake up in the morning and Rachel's mom is like, "You're super grounded for all summer." So the whole summer he was grounded to the basement where they had like a pool table and he had some video games like N64 and shit down there, but he couldn't leave the basement. So he'd go to bed, he'd wake up and he'd be forced grounded to the basement for the whole day and night. And he couldn't have friends over, couldn't do shit. So we would hang out with him sometimes, but he instantly fucked his vacation over day one by getting caught drinking. And that was like the best story of all time.
That's amazing.
I remember it was like one of the first times I ever smoked weed, and I was with Beefy at his house.
Beef.
I already
And
like this is going.
so they had a huge ass house, and then outside, like in their driveway, they had a little shed, and that shed had an upstairs, and you could climb up the ladder and go upstairs into this little flat.
Yep.
And we would just hang out there, and he had a little like CRT TV and shit, and like we just sat in there and listened to like Stairway to Heaven and shit. And we smoked weed, and we hear a knock on the door of the fucking. We're just gone because it's like the first time ever doing it. He had done it a couple times before, but we were just destroyed. And his parents, like I'm pretty sure it was his dad, who's super jacked up, like the dad of who's the character in South Park? Butters. Butters' dad. Is it Butters' dad? The one that's wicked jacked? Or is it
No.
Craig?
No, it's not Butters' dad.
There's one that's super jacked up.
Who
He's
was
just like a bodybuilder.
Either way, his dad is
jacked
a
up.
jacked,
Yeah.
like construction guy who is like a contractor. Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm just like, okay, what's going on? Like, I'm just gonna let him deal with it. So I'm just sitting up there. Like, I'm just staying there. And he goes down and goes outside, and his dad just bitches him out like a motherfucker. And I'm pretty sure they called my parents, probably told them. It's like I've had multiple times. I know, like, Schwalik was smoking out my bedroom window one time when my parents came home. Like, they drove home into the driveway while he was sticking his head out the window. Just worst impression you could possibly put on your friend's parents. Like,
That's so good.
It's just like it's the most awkward shit too, because like you can't. There's nothing you can do about it. Like,
You have to just deal with it.
yeah. And then you feel bad for your friend because they're high as shit and they're dealing with their parents being like,
They have to deal with the God. That's totally happened to me many times. Well, the way we like started smoking when we were kids was like me and my brother and my cousin Maddie and like our tight group of friends, Grant and stuff like that. And we would just hang out at my house, and our parents would go to bed, and we would all go out to this shit van that never ran one time that my brother had. And it was floor to ceiling shag carpet with a couch in the back, and
That's
then
so
reclining
70s.
chairs that spun 360. So we would have 3 people sitting on the couch, and a person would sit in each one of the like passenger or the like second row seating was just 2 recliners that spun. So we would just sit in those, and we would smoke out of the 64-ounce peach Snapple bottle that we turned into a water bong. And then we would go inside, and at my house on 104, where we grew up, you would walk in the front door, and the second you walked in the door, the whole family room was like squared off. It was like one of those, I don't even know what they call it. It's like a staggered level house where it's like there's the entrance, and then you go up the stairs to the right, and there's a kitchen and a living room, and then you go back upstairs, and you're in the rooms that are over the family room.
Yeah.
So it's like kind of staggered, and that was where the beds and shit were. So
it's
we always
like 2 floors, but there's 3 floors
like
in a
3
way.
floors though, yeah. And so we would hang out in the family room, and when you walked at our front door, we had an entertainment center that was to the right. The second you walked in, with its back to the rest of the room, giant floor to ceiling entertainment center with a giant tube TV and every console that had ever been made up to that point, all hooked up to it on switchers and shit. Nick can vouch for that. He spent so much time hanging out with set up, and there was a giant couch and a recliner there. So we would just we would go out and get ripped in the van. Nick didn't smoke us back then, but me and my brother and Grant and Maddie would smoke out there, and then we'd come in and we'd play video games all through the night. And most of my senior year, Grant would spend the night every single night, and we would go out and get ripped, stay up until like 6 a.m. playing video games, go to bed. Our alarms would go off for school a half hour later. We'd wake up for school and go, "We're not going today." And my mom would go, "Okay." And we would just go back to sleep. And then we would do that every single night. We would never go to school. And his dad would just be, "What is going on?" And he would be like, "Oh, I'm passing everything, so whatever." And then our teachers our guts, because we would go when we knew we had tests, and we would ace the tests, and they'd be like, "I hate your guts. Why can't you just do homework or show up? But you know all this shit and pass it." We're like, "The school system's broken."
I've never seen, like, all my years, I've never seen an actual 70s style van like that with shag carpet and shit.
I wish
Really?
you would have been around more back then, but at the time, I was like 16.
I was 7. I was like 9 or some shit.
If I was 16, you would have been what, 11 or 12? Right?
Yeah, probably.
Right now, 4 or 5 years younger than me, right? 4 years.
29 now.
You're 29.
So,
Only 2 years younger than me, dude. I'm 31. Or did you just turn 29 though?
just turned 29.
Turned 32 in July.
So I think you were you still in high school when I came in?
Yeah, I
I
was
believe you were a senior and I was a freshman.
Yep, 100%. I was a senior when you were a freshman.
Yeah.
And then I left that year, and that was when we started Burn and started doing all that shit. And that's how I met all you guys, was because when we started Burn, you guys would all come to shows and stuff.
Yeah.
I went to one of your shows when I was like 9 or 10.
That's crazy to me, dude. I don't remember seeing you at our shows, but you've told me that before that you've been at them. I believe it, obviously.
Yeah, my Uncle Wes would bring me to him because whenever he would go, I went with Wesley a couple times. I think my dad went to one of your guys' shows when you guys were like first starting out.
Guaranteed.
See, I've been looking to see if I could find your album on the internet. I don't think it's on the internet, right?
I don't think
The
it's on
original one?
No, I don't think the original one's on the internet.
Because I have the physical copy.
Yeah. I remember that Seth would come to all of our shows. He like never missed a show, and we all ended up just tight with him. And he started coming to 4th Street and shit because he never ever missed a show. Even the shit small ones at Rose Garden to 2 people, he was there.
Those were the most fun because
Those were the most fun.
was so like you were just standing right
Rose
in front of
Garden.
you guys,
Dude,
and then we go outside and just smoke weed right outside the door, basically.
And Jake's girlfriend's parents owned the bar, so they would pay us $200 a night to play, and then we would just drink free at the bar and shit, and we were all underage. It was so it was so fun, dude. And your uncle would bring you to every show, and was a MAGA fan.
Yeah. Anthony, he went to most of the shows. Yeah, I think he even went to the CD release show.
He did.
And then there was an after party too. And we were the first ones to show up to the after party. And we were like, where the fuck is everybody? And he's like, oh, I'm pretty sure they're back. They're back at the barn drinking soda.
That's not true. So you went to one of the best shows we ever played in the early era of Burn. You went to one of the best ones, and it was you coming with your uncle. He brought you to it, and it was way far away. It was like 4 hours away in some random town, and we played with a signed world touring band called Mindflow that was a nasty Dream Theater style band at some shop, and the card thrower from Jackass 2 was there, and we all met him and talked to him and shit. Yep.
That was wild as shit.
That was the best
all about that
back then. That was like my favorite show we played back in the day.
I mean, you made it when the card thrower from Jackass 2 is there, you know?
Yeah, he so wasn't there to see us. He was there because his son was in a band that was opening at that show.
Yeah. He was also there to throw cards, but
there to throw cards for our entertainment and talk to us about how super fucked up and like terrible human all of the Jackass guys were when he worked with them because they were just super alcoholics and drug addicts.
Yeah. Those guys are... I mean, it's so weird. Like, I watch Steve-O's YouTube channel now, and he seems like he's in good shape. Like, he's
doing wicked good. He's doing the best he's ever done, but that channel's awesome. He tells a lot of crazy stories on that channel.
And that's what's so cool is, like, you've gone through all that. Like, you've basically had the craziest life anyone's ever had. And then you still managed to get out of it with your head on your shoulders.
Which scares the shit out of me. Because I'm pretty sure it's confirmed that they're doing a Jackass 4. And I almost don't want them to. Because I love those guys so much. And I've been a fan of those guys for my whole life. Ever since like CKY and the Jackass show and shit like that. I've been following Bam and his circle and Knoxville and all those guys forever. So have you, so all of us, dude. We've all been. And it makes me feel really good to see those guys I've been following their whole lives and their whole careers in good places in life. So it's tough for me to be like, they should do another Jackass movie.
Yeah. I think it'll be interesting because
worst places.
I think what's interesting is they'll come at it with their perspective that they're at now.
Yeah.
So they'll understand it a little bit more. They've had time to reflect on this kind of stuff, you know?
Mm-hmm. Oh, big time.
So I think they'll have a different approach. I still think it'd be good. I'd watch it.
Oh, I'm gonna watch it. Of course, I'm gonna watch it.
I'm like one of the best shows I've ever been to. Actually, was the him show that I went to a couple years ago. It was their last. It was the last tour they ever. That was their final tour. They played with CKY. It was just those two. And
That's the most nostalgic concert ever.
and it was in Philadelphia, so Bam Margera was there.
Even crazier, man.
So it's like that's the spot you have to go to see them.
Such a holy grail, like single night.
Yeah.
Like seeing something dude, it's like when you were there too, when we went to New York City to see Porcupine Tree and Iced Earth on their
And
final
Iced Earth.
song with Barlow.
Yeah, dude, it was crazy because they were back-to-back nights.
Fuck.
Yeah. We saw Iced Earth at Nokia Theater on their last U.S. show with Matt Barlow singing.
Yeah.
And
So
we
it
were
was
there
my
right
first
up
time in
front.
New York City, which was cool in general.
Same. First time in New York
Then
City.
you go see, I think, was Iced Earth first? The first
Iced
night?
Earth
Or was
was
it?
first. We saw him at Nokia Theater. And then the next night, it was Friday night, we saw Iced Earth in Nokia Theater. And then Saturday, we saw Porcupine Tree /
At Radio
Steve Wilson
City.
at fucking Radio City. And I got super, super deep vertigo because
Yeah,
my
that's
seat wasn't with you guys. And I was up on the top balcony and it sits angled like this, just like straight angle down. And you're going, what the fuck?
I
Good
forgot
seats,
about
like
that.
every seat is a good shot at the stage, but I just it triggered super vertigo in me,
I forgot.
and I was in the
about that.
bathroom, wicked bad.
Yeah, you like at the end of the show, we came out and then, like, they were like, "Yeah, Dave has been back here the entire fucking time. Basically, he got
I
super."
tried to make it as long as I could. I made it through like the first half of the show.
If you guys
I made
could
it
go
through
back,
half.
if you guys could go back and relive any concert or show you ever been to, what would it be?
Oh my god!
It might be that one, just because we were in a hotel in New York City with Steve and you and like fucking
Reid
Wes,
and
and we were
Chris
like
and
we were throwing pillows at each other and shit in
Yeah.
the fucking hotel room. Those
They're
big
called-
the
the
dingus
big-
pillows.
the dingus pillows. Yeah, yeah.
The dingus.
That trip in general was just so fun, dude.
Yeah,
It was so fun. It was just us and our friends, and I think was it Diane that took us?
yeah.
Right?
Well,
Yeah, Diane that took us on the trip. She like chaperoned so we didn't get killed in New York City,
because we
which
would.
I'm glad she did. Yeah, we would have. But yeah, that was such a fun trip. I would love to do that one again. I think the only other concert I can think of that I would love to see again, I'd love to go back and see, is when we saw Dream Theater Opeth
Yes.
between the Bear and Me and 3. And
Yeah.
Absolutely 100%. Prog Nation.
Yeah, it was a great show.
It's like 2008 or something. Prog
It was
Nation,
in Albany.
Albany at
Yep.
it was
The
like a war
Washington
memorial.
Armory.
Washington Armory, yes.
It was
Dude,
fucking
that
amazing.
was to this day like top 3 concerts I've ever been to in my life.
So it was
And then
3,
Yeah,
and
3.
then Between the Buried and Me, right?
Mhm.
Then
We're doing colors,
Opeth,
and then Opeth.
then Dream Theater.
Then
Like,
Dream
how do you
Theater.
get a better lineup?
It was when Opeth just got the drummer that they got after Ghost Reveries when Martin left.
Yeah, it was
Excellent.
before Watershed.
Yeah, it was
Right?
when they were touring for Watershed. Yeah, so it was like the prime of that band.
Yeah,
And then it was Dream Theater with Portnoy.
and
Yeah.
Between the Buried and Me with Colors.
Yes, and they were
So-
doing colors. Yep, it was ridiculous, absolutely ridiculous.
Peak of all those bands in a lot of ways.
And a lot of 100%. And the
Well,
opener 3 was wicked good, and I had just discovered them before we went, and I was the guy being like, "Dude, this band's gonna be sick. I'm
Mhm.
not even don't even bother listening to them. It's all good, but you guys are gonna love the opener." And they were nasty. They were so
Now, I
good. live.
believe it's Joey Eppard, right? He was the drummer for Coheed.
Yes,
Is that what it
and
was?
it's his band. He was the drummer in 3. Yeah, yep.
Yeah.
And it's the singer and guitarist is his brother, and that's why he
Josh
was in
Eppard
3.
is the drummer,
Jo-
right?
Josh is the drummer. Yep.
What would
Yep.
yours be, Nick?
My favorite concert?
Yeah, like if you could go back and relive it.
Probably oh man. It's been a lot of concerts.
Dude, you
Uh,
played some that are like, oh my god, though. Like you've played
Probably
shows.
Meshuggah in Boston.
Oh wow.
I mean, the Obscura Devon show that we opened for was fucking awesome.
Devin is always fucking amazing,
That
though.
was amazing.
Devin is something that I think everybody needs to experience. Like, that guy's sound live,
I'm
like,
so
it's so
sad.
strong.
I'm so sad I did not get to see Devin Townsend with the Devin Townsend Project with Ryan Van Poordrijn drumming and shit.
Yeah.
That was
Last
so
time I saw them
sad.
was
I'm so
I think
bummed
it
they
was
broke
with
up.
BT Bam, and it was just BT Bam and Devin Townsend, I'm pretty sure. And that was the last time that was like only 2 years ago or something like that.
Wish I could have stayed for that BT Bam show that we went to in Rochester. We saw Tesseract and BT Bam. That was an incredible show. But I had to duck out after like 2 songs because I had work in the morning. 2 songs from BT Bam. I made it through the opener and I watched all of Tesseract, which was I love Tesseract.
That was
so
a good show.
That was great for me. And then I stayed for a couple songs of BT Bam, but I had work at 5 in the morning and I was like, I have to get out of here.
Yeah.
Symphony X. I saw Symphony X live. That was incredible. I definitely am going to see them again, actually, because they're doing a 25th anniversary tour next year. And we bought tickets to go to it this year, but with coronavirus shit going on, they had to cancel. So they said that no sweat. We're going to do it next year, and we'll be going.
Dude, I really want to see Lamb of God and Megadeth.
Oh,
yeah.
And I was also going to buy...
I saw that, man. Gigantour?
It was at Darien Lake or something like that. Amphitheater.
I did House of Blues in Boston. No, sorry. I did... Yeah, it was House of Blues, but it was in Atlantic City.
Well, I've seen Megadeth. I just haven't seen Lamb of God. And I've seen... Because I saw Megadeth with Slayer one time.
That's crazy. Dude, Joe Mochica, though. Joe has been to concerts that I'm like, I hate your guts. He's seen everybody, dude. He's seen Maiden a bunch of times. He saw Sabbath with Dio. He saw Sabbath with Ozzy. He saw Maiden. He's seen Judas Priest. He's seen Tool in like an arena and shit. He's seen so many crazy shows that I'm like, what the fuck, man? He's seen Nevermore, dude. He's seen Nevermore.
Yeah, that would be fucking awesome.
And shit. Yep.
I think if I could go back and watch any show again, there'd be 2. The first time I saw Roger Waters. The first time I saw Roger Waters perform The Wall.
Oh, whoa. Where did you see that?
HSBC Arena in Buffalo.
Okay. That's unreal, man.
And,
you're sure it wouldn't be Smash Mouth at Harborfest?
And then the other close one is the Chili Peppers in that same arena 2 years
I knew
ago.
you were going to say Chili Peppers.
That's nasty.
Yeah, that was pretty wild. That was wild because there were people. So I went with my dad. It was my Christmas gift / birthday gift for that same year. We went to Buffalo, and I don't know if you've ever seen a show at like a hockey arena. You definitely have. But like, you have the stage is like the last fifth of the whole arena. And then it's like a horseshoe around it. We were first upper level, but the middle of the horseshoe. So we had like the perfect, we had the perfect
shot of the whole stage.
Yeah, and there were people around us, and during one of the songs on the newer album, it's depressing. I think it's called "Goodbye Angel." It's a song about a fan committing suicide that they knew, and one of the people that was in our section like lit a joint and handed it to me, and my dad was like, "Fuck it!" Like I didn't see anything.
Chili Peppers in an arena, go. Yeah, dude.
That was fucking
That's
wild.
hilarious.
But the Pink Floyd show, like seeing The Wall live was fucking crazy. That was the craziest.
Yeah, that's great. That has to be mind blowing.
Like that was because I remember we would go to a concert. We go like 2 or 3 a year, and my dad was straight up like, if I spend the money to go see Roger Waters do The Wall, we're not going to a concert for like 2 more years. And I'm like, all right, that's fine. I don't care.
It doesn't matter. You have to do that. Yeah, you have to do that.
Because for me, it was like when I saw Parallax 2 all the way through. Because I was just that's my favorite album probably of all time.
BT Bam.
Yeah, and I remember they played it. They were touring right after they had released it. And they played the whole thing all the way through, and I was just like, you can't ask for more than that, really. Your favorite album ever being played live.
Dude, that's why seeing Iced Earth was so nuts, because they pretty much played the Alive in Athens set.
Yeah.
And they were tighter than that album. Like, it was so ridiculous. Barlow's voice just happened to be on that night. It was
Yeah.
crazy, man.
It's Matt Barlow too, though. So
But like even some of the tough shit from his career, like they played A Question of Heaven, the last song on Dark Saga, and there's a really fucking high note in that, and he destroyed it live.
yeah,
It was
Iced
zero.
Earth is tricky, man. They're really tricky because they've had so many singers,
Yeah.
and
Yep.
like their
Barlow-
stuff is
oh, man.
written for different, gauges and stuff like that. So there's certain songs that some of them can't sing, like
Barlow-
10,000 Strong.
Yeah.
Like good luck singing 10,000 Strong.
The stuff they did with Tim Owens when Barlow did it was awesome.
Yeah.
He always did it well because he would just do his thing and it worked.
Honestly, Barlow could hit some of that stuff in 10,000 Strong. I've seen a couple of his videos of his live shows doing that song, and he's pretty damn close
Yeah.
to Tim Owens.
It's not, he doesn't do highs the way Tim does. It's not
Yeah.
the same thing. So
But
it's a
Barlow's
nightmare.
like timbre. Barlow's timbre is very specific. Like he
Yeah.
has a very specific voice.
Yep.
I really want to see the Foo Fighters in concert
Oh.
badly. And they
Me
play
too.
with the Chili Peppers a lot. So that
Yeah.
would be so nasty to see that.
You know what,
think,
Baxter?
It's like if you go to see those two, though, it's like you're only seeing them. You're gonna have to go to a huge fucking venue. You're
Yeah.
gonna have to go to an
Gone
arena,
to the arena. You're going to an arena. Yep. 100%.
and it's gonna cost you some money.
Every time I saw Rush, the show was somehow better than the previous.
Oh, that's another
Saw-
band I would have been able to see.
I saw Rush 3 times, and it was unreal every time.
No,
Like-
they're mind blowing. That band is crazy.
The last show we saw them was, I was in college. I don't remember what year it was, or I was out of college. It was 2015. It was like their last tour, I think.
last
was
real
something.
stuff they did before Neil had to come off the road.
Yeah, and they did all of 2112, like the not the album, but the song, like the actual one that's like 20 something minutes long.
Yeah.
They did that full thing.
Well,
like,
yeah, that is the album, right?
There's
yeah,
other songs on the album, isn't there?
Oh, that's true.
yeah. There's
But that's I mean, when
pretty
you
much.
think of
It's sort of like how
2012,
Echoes is the only song on Metal by Pink Floyd. Like Echoes is that whole album. It's 25 minutes or some shit.
I mean, I think every band has one of those.
Yep.
Ultimately.
But anyway, Rush Live was fucking it's insane. How you couldn't tell that they were as old as they were, and it was like somehow just as crisp as it would be listening to it like on vinyl. Like it was just perfect. Like
That's
perfect.
That's one of the things about seeing bands at that level is that everything sounds perfect. Nobody's making mistakes. They're super weathered. They're super professional. And it's like when you see stuff like that, the average person is seeing it and they don't even realize how hard that is to pull off, even if the song is easy. It's
Yes.
so hard to pull that off.
Yeah.
And
That's why I appreciate Between the Buried and Me so much. And it's because when they play their albums, and like even if you listen to their music, like you're going, oh, okay, this is really like all over the place. So until you listen to it fucking 50 times, you don't understand the structure of the song.
Mhm.
So when you go to see it live and you do understand the structure of the song, you're going, oh, they're nailing every single bit of this fucking album
everything.
from front to back. That
That's
to me,
crazy
when you
to
can
me.
do that live with any band, is super fucking impressive. If you can perform to the level of your fucking studio album, that's really impressive.
I feel like that's gotta always be the goal, though.
You have to,
Doing
yes, because if
studio
you
albums,
can't,
better be able to
if
play
you're
it live.
Dragon Force and you can't play your fucking songs,
All
live.
That Remains is the best example of all time
yeah,
because they did Fall of Ideals, which is like one of the most important metal albums of the 2000s, like those early 2000s. Fall of
Yeah.
Ideals.
and then they
So
play it
good.
live and it sounds like
And it
you're
was
missing
so
notes in
bad
fucking,
and sloppy.
it sounds like you're missing notes in Guitar Hero. It's like clink, clink,
Yep.
clink, clink.
Yeah. That's not to say that they haven't gotten tighter. I'm just talking about when they put out Fall of Ideals, it was noticeable how much
Yeah.
they couldn't play it live. Who knows where they're at now? They have Jason Richardson playing guitar. He's not gonna fuck up. He's going to be playing that shit
Right.
tight. So, and that's not to say that Ole Herbert was bad. He was awesome. He was a wicked good guitarist.
How even Necrophagist was really good live.
Mm.
Like they were pretty tight, like close to the album.
They were super tight live. I think that, but still, I think the craziest band I've ever seen live for how tight they were was just impossible is Dream Theater at that show. I saw things there that I knew enough about playing live and how things work, and that now I look back on knowing what I know now about in-ears and click tracks and all that stuff, and I know what I saw, and I know it's not possible because they weren't on ears, they weren't on clicks. Portnoy was probably on a click and probably had ears, but the rest of the guys weren't, and they were playing Take the Time, and it was the like instrumental, like groovy, funky section right before the keyboard solo. And it's kind of this like jumpy part, and they did a muted stop, and everybody in the band stops and just doesn't play anything, and nobody's on ears with click other than maybe Portnoy. He doesn't give a signal. They're not looking
They're
at
just
us. They're looking
feeling
out at us, and nobody can see anything. They don't stop to a rhythm. They just stop and listen to the crowd cheer, and then out of nowhere go dun, dun, and just come in. And I was like, wait, what? Where's the cue? And I still, to this day, I have no answer for where that cue was. I have nothing. I don't know what
seems
they
to be a
did
theme
to
with a lot of those progressive bands. Like Devin Townsend's really tight live too.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I think progressive bands at a high level.
Yeah, like Symphony X, dude. When we saw Symphony X, they were fucking spotless live. Spotless. It was crazy. One of the best shows I've ever been to. You know who was insane live? That is another concert that I would go back and do again 1,000,000 times. Is one of my favorite concerts I've ever been to. Probably top 3 for me was me, Stace, my buddy that we all know, Mark Forbes, and his girlfriend Megan, went and saw Weird Al at Turning Stone, and it's one of the top 3 concerts I've ever seen in my life. His band was incredible. He only played his most popular hits that everybody wanted to hear. He was doing elaborate outfit changes every song. So like they do Amish Paradise, he's off stage, he's coming out as they start the song, and he's dressed in full Amish shit. Then they do awesome. Like fat, they do like I'm fat, he's off stage, and during the whatever, he comes out in a full fat suit dressed like Michael Jackson and shit.
Yeah,
like every
amazing.
song. And his band was super tight.
He's really underappreciated because he's a parody artist.
Yep.
That's it.
But he's amazingly talented, dude.
Yeah, he's incredibly talented.
Yeah, and his band was so fun. That night was so fun too, though, because right after that show, we went into the gambling floor because you know how Turning Stone is like a big circle, and the gambling floor is in the middle, and surrounding it is all like bar and grills of different kinds, and stores and places to cash out and shit like that. And there was fucking nobody anywhere after we got out of there, so we went and got wicked good food at some restaurant, and then we went to some sports bar and grill that had 0 customers and was open serving drinks until like 4 a.m. and the 4 of us all got completely shit-faced, went and made new accounts so we get like the free $25 or whatever on a card, and we only gambled with that $25, and then we just checked out for the night.
Yep, that's the way
and we just hammered playing quarter games and shit. It was so fun, man. Yeah, I've never been back since. I've never been to the casino since. I'm not a big
It's
I don't know.
tough.
I'm not
like
a big
with the casino, I feel like I have to go with a certain amount of money, spend it, and then be done with it.
Like the right people too, so that it's a good time and shit.
Yeah,
for sure.
Yeah, like honestly, one of my favorite videos ever, like music videos, is the Weezer music video for Africa because it has Weird Al in it, and it's just wicked good because it's Africa.
And it's Africa, yeah. And he does the accordion.
Yeah, it's so good.
And he rips, wicked hard rips on accordion.
Yeah,
they played a random polka song at their show, and he was ripping on accordion so hard. At one point, he came into the crowd, and he was singing this kind of like funky like song about fucking. And he's like all like smooth walking through the crowd and shit. And we're trying. Mark's girlfriend Megan is obsessed with Weird Al. That's how we even found out and went, because it's like her favorite artist ever. So he's coming down our row, and we're going, Al, no, her, because he's like grinding on people and like getting on chairs and like doing funny shit. And she was so embarrassed. She was like, no, I can't. So he was like, all right, and moved on. But he was in the crowd singing, walking through us. And there was one of those concerts where there's this amazing stage with amazing sound, tons of room for the whole band, everybody up there super comfortable, just a pipe dream show. And the audience is seated at tables eating, watching the show, and everybody was just cheering the whole time. It was so fun, dude.
I can't imagine being on that level to where you're playing a show and people are just literally they've spent their lives listening to your music.
I can't even imagine. Being like a Metallica or a Pink Floyd or a Rush or some shit, and you're 40
and knowing that like they've traveled, and they've traveled for hours to get to this one show, and they've spent money, like hard-earned money, to just see you guys.
Time away from everything, and they get
and that's
there,
one thing I forget who said it. I think it was a pro athlete of some sort where he goes, he said that he knows that someone in the audience has never seen him before, so he's just going to perform as hard as he can every single time.
Yep.
And that's something that you need to have. Like, you have to have that because every single show has to be your best show.
That's that fucking Kobe Bryant mentality.
Was it Kobe? It might have been
Kobe.
You can't lose sight of that no matter what. You can't lose sight of it.
Yeah. You can't just look at these shows as another show.
It was either Kobe or MJ. They're like the same guy, pretty much.
I think you're right. I think it was Kobe.
But there's like Jimmy Butler and Russell Westbrook are those two same guys, and Damian Lillard for the NBA like nowadays are like those same like hardcore like Damian Lillard and Russell Westbrook are best friends outside of basketball. During the season, they don't talk. Like they fucking despise each other
because it's a competition and they take it very seriously.
It's crazy to think of it that way though. Like you got to think about who's coming to see you.
Mm-hmm.
Dude, Damian Lillard's my boy.
You don't want to be, as a fan, you don't want to go and see your favorite player of all time. Like if I go to Green Bay and I go to fucking to a Packers game, I want to see Aaron Rodgers throw 7 touchdowns.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like I want to see him throw for 500 plus yards. Like I don't want to see him go a pedestrian ass game with 119 yards, fucking handing the ball off the whole game.
Yeah,
right.
Dude.
Well, that's why I loved the Bills game, because it was like we just got to watch fucking football.
And it's Ryan Fitzpatrick, so he's just going to throw the ball as hard as he can and hope that it goes into somebody's hands.
It was Fitzpatrick and Josh Allen, which is what both of those guys do. But dude, fucking like if I could relive any event, there's 2 that are sports related. They're both Cowboys games. 2007 Monday Night Football, Cowboys Bills, where Tony Romo threw 5 interceptions and they still won in overtime.
How do you win a game with 5?
Dude, okay, so get this, and you can look this up because it's fucking the whole game is free on YouTube right now. So the Cowboys were playing like dog shit. Obviously, they had 6 turnovers in the first like 95% of the game.
I'm glad you're a Cowboys fan, but even you say obviously. You're like, yeah, of course, it's the Cowboys though, so they were playing like shit.
Well, they were playing like shit. Like objectively, they were having a bad game, and they go to tie the game.
Yeah,
and they're like a field goal away, and they kick an onside kick and recover it after it gets reviewed that Terrell Owens caught it and went down first. Like, so he caught it and went down and then got back up and, like, went to go to the sideline. And they were like, oh, he caught it and fumbled it. And it was, like, a 20-minute – like, this is live in, like, December, I think. This is like 20 minutes of them.
Was this in Buffalo as well?
And this is in Buffalo, yeah.
Oh.
It might have been November. It might have been November. It was, but either way, it was cold as fuck. But so the Cowboys get possession. They tie the game. It goes to overtime, and the Cowboys stop the Bills on their drive, so they get the ball back. They drive all the way down to like the 40, and they have to kick a field goal to win. and Nick Folk had never kicked over like 52 yards, and he had to kick like a 57 or 56 yard field goal. And we're like, he's fucked. He's not going to make it. We're going to leave. He lines up, kicks it, and it bounces off the upright and goes in. But what happened was the Bills coach iced him. He called a timeout right before the play, so he had to do the kick again. And then when he kicked it a second time, it was perfectly right in the middle. Cowboys win, and we got the fuck out of there.
I always feel like I feel like when they ice the kicker like that, the kicker basically just gets a free practice kick.
Exactly.
Is all that really happened.
Yeah.
But the second one was when we saw the Cowboys in Cleveland, and they won like 38-3 or some shit. And I got to get my picture taken with the two safeties, J.J. Wilcox and Barry Church. That was sick.
That's cool.
They're
Barry
not on-
Church was a good safety.
I don't think I have. I don't think I've ever been to a pro sports event ever, like an NBA game or an NHL game or.
It's a crazy
baseball.
Atmosphere. It really is.
Yeah,
A crazy
I've always
atmosphere.
wanted to go to a pro basketball game.
Same.
I've always wanted to go to like a playoff game or something.
I've
It'd
been
be
to
so
Syracuse
crazy.
games, and Syracuse
Yeah,
fans
I've been
are
to Syracuse
pretty.
games.
Syracuse
And they're up
fans,
there. Well, Syracuse college games are wicked good.
yeah, that's what I mean.
and,
Even
like,
Syracuse
college
football games are
basketball-
pretty intense.
Wicked good in general.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, even
I just-
Syracuse football, the dome is pretty loud when people are into the game.
Mm-hmm.
It's a matter of if the team's winning or not, really. But it can get loud in there, and it's fun.
I always wished I could have seen either the Bulls in the late 90s, like during
Yeah,
the final repeat, like
98, 96.
98 or whatever. Yeah, what is it, 96, 97, 98? Or is it 97, 98, 99? But either way, I would have loved to have seen that. I would have loved to have seen that, and I would have loved to have seen the Lakers with Kobe and Shaq in the early 2000s during their three. Well,
I would have loved to see the series where they played Allen Iverson, and Allen Iverson was just the only player on Philadelphia, and he was. They won the first game, and then they got manhandled. But I would have loved to have been able to see, and I know this is like obviously because it's different. I grew up watching Kobe, but LeBron's my guy that have seen everything.
Yeah.
He was on the Heat with Dwayne Wade and Chris Bosh and Ray Allen.
Was insanity.
God, that team was fucking insane.
The super.
The game where he broke his nose and he had to wear he wore a black
Oh, yeah.
mask. Oh, there's a picture of that is just goosebumps, dude. I gotta find that. But like LeBron was just he's still a fucking freak. He's still the best
Yeah,
player
he's
in the
fucking
world.
amazing, yeah.
But he was such an athletic monster. Like people
I'll tell you
are
one
hyped up-
thing, though. Like, man, when you watch this fucking Jordan doc, you fucking remember what this guy could do. Dude, the guy was in the air for like 4 seconds at a time. And like the amount of moves he'd put on guys.
And shit. He'd be like, left, it's getting blocked. Right, it's getting blocked. Left for a layup. That's open.
And then he'll be like, oh,
And
sweep
while
under.
floating in air. Yeah.
I mean, it's insane what that guy could
It's
fucking
Jordan,
do.
man. It's Jordan.
And they would like the shit that they just put out in the latest episode. They were talking about like the dream team and how they did all these practices and shit. And when people would talk shit to Jordan, he'd go, "Oh, really? Like, really? That's what you're gonna do?" And then he'd just go off and be like, "I'm just showing you. I'm just gonna show you what happens."
I've heard stories before of Jordan going like playing playoff games where everything is on the line. It's the most on the line it's gonna get until you're at like game 7 of the finals or some shit. You know what I mean? And so he's in the playoffs and he's playing against like whatever team, and nobody even talked shit to him, and he just overheard somebody say something, and then he walks up to the opposing team's bench and goes, "I just wanted to let you guys know that there's absolutely nothing anybody can do about it, and I'm gonna do like 54 or 55 tonight, and you just have to accept it." And they go, "Shit," and he walk away, and he'd get 60 that night.
It's so weird. Like the way they talk about it in this documentary is like there was another gear that he had where he could just turn it on and go, "I'm levels above everybody. I'm just levels above everybody."
My favorite freaky Michael Jordan statistic. Him and Wayne Gretzky have my favorite obscure stats, and Wilt Chamberlain, obviously.
Gretzky has the most fucked up one of all time, though. By far the most fucked up, but go ahead.
Wait, can I guess what it is?
Just go ahead. Go ahead.
All right. My favorite Michael Jordan stat is that if you gambled on every single game that he ever played and you bet whether he was going to score more than 30 or less than 20, if you bet, like you had it was like a 9 or 10 times better chance that he was going to drop 40 than drop 19 or lower. Like you were not keeping him from like 20 ever. If you held Michael Jordan to like under 30
for his whole career, any game.
Like if he was under 30, you did a good job. It's like fucking Kevin Durant is like that. If you kept Kevin Durant under 25 points, like he's getting 25 at least. Like,
well, they were talking about how like earlier in the documentary, they were talking about how like he was basically just the guy for the Bulls and he would just take all the shots and he was basically the ball hog. But once he opened up to being able to get all these outlet passes and shit to the other players like Pippen and all these guys,
Pippen, man,
once they opened that gameplay, like as soon as they started opening that up, as soon as Jordan like opened up to that, the team just was absolutely insane. Like because Jordan was just was good enough to get
three-peat. The only double three-peat of a team ever in NBA history. The only double three-peat is the Bulls just 2 3-peats. I can't even with Jordan and Pippen.
I can't recommend the documentary enough.
The Celtics did that in the 60s, but that doesn't count, I don't think.
I don't know if it counts because it's different rules, different league and stuff like that.
Well, they also had like 12 teams back then.
Yeah. But still, I mean...
It's very strange though because you forget how good he was.
I think you're right though that the Celtics did do a double three-peat in the 60s, but that's not the point. Yeah, you do forget how good Jordan was, and he just was like, dude. When was it Larry Bird that said that he played against Jordan and he was like, it's just Jordan. But then when he played against him, he realized that it wasn't actually Jordan; it was actually God disguised as Jordan. Wouldn't hear any different. He's like, no, that was God playing as Jordan, and I don't know another way to explain it.
Larry Bird had some great ones. We covered them when we had Zamaya on the last time. My favorite, like I love my favorite one. They just did like a Bleacher Report, not Bleacher Report, SB Nation. They did one about Larry Bird where he had. He said like something like deep three. It was like deep three trainer's lap. And there was like 30 seconds left in the game. The Celtics were up by 1. Larry Bird gets the ball, drains like a 35-foot 3-point shot. And before it even comes down, like the down arc, he's fucking kneeling down and he's like on top of the trainer in his lap, like covering his face from the fucking from the shot, and he fucking goes in, and you can see the players on the other team freaking out because he's straight up just like, I'm gonna shoot a 3 and then sit next to your trainer.
I mean, it's astounding.
The craziest Larry Bird thing, like legendary Larry Bird thing that I ever saw footage of or that I've ever heard of is when he did the 3-point contest and he didn't even take his warm-up jacket off. So he just did the actual full contest with his warm-up shit on, and when he did the final one, he missed the whole 4th rack except for like one ball, and he had to make everything of the final rack. He had to hit everything or he was losing, and not only did he hit everything on the final rack with his warm-up gear on, but he hit the final ball, and the second he lets go, he walks away going, yup, with his fingers up, doesn't give a fuck, just throws it and goes, I win. You guys suck it.
There's a feel. Those guys have played for so long that there's a feel. They know that it's going.
They just know. They just know.
It's so crazy to see like professionals too, though. Like when you see these guys in this documentary talk, like they're professional players, like Larry Bird, Isaiah Thomas. You see these guys talking about Jordan.
They're not just professionals; they're other legends.
And you see them talk about him, and they're just like, he was undeniably better than everyone on the court at that time. Yeah. There's just no debate to it.
And the people that you need to listen to that are saying that are them, because
Magic
they're the
Johnson.
guys that were the best ever in their eras that played him at the same time and went, oh, he is better than me, and there's nothing I can do about it. And you're Magic Johnson. who was the man before Jordan showed up. He was the man. Yeah, that shit's crazy. And then Wayne Gretzky just goes, "Oh, you like crazy stats? Hold my beer.
Yeah,
I'm going to have
stats.
like 10,000 more assists than the number 2 guy has scores. Like, he has thousands more goals than anybody else in the league, but he has more assists than the number 2 guy in the scoring competition has scored.
Like,
It's
total,
so ridiculous.
Total points. This one's crazy. Wayne Gretzky.
What is that game behind you? Is that NHL Hits or some shit?
It's NHL Blitz, yeah, and it's a guy on fire during a fist fight.
Of course. You know?
I love the Wayne Gretzky stat. They're like, Wayne Gretzky was the fastest ever player to score 1,000 points total, so goals and assists. He's also the second fastest player to get 1,000 because he got 1,000 points in like 400 something games. Not even, probably even less than that, 300 games, and then he got his 2,000 mark in just about the same time. Like, he's the first and second fastest guy to get 1,000 points in his career.
It's just that one's undeniable. There's no other guy.
Nobody ever even thinks about arguing Wayne Gretzky's dominance.
Yeah.
The people that played with him said that when he played, they were convinced he was like psychic because it felt like he legitimately knew what was going to happen, like 5 interactions with the puck ahead, and was prepping for that when no one else had a clue.
He was
like
basically the Soul Calibur 2 PC, like computer player.
He knows what everyone's going to do, and people are going, why is he skating over there? And then this guy hits the puck, it goes to this guy, goes to this guy, goes back and forth between teams, and then it ends up right to him. And you're like, how did he know to go there? How did he know to go there? And everybody on the ice is just going, well, it's Gretzky, so they're winning.
I love, there's another fucking Jordan stat that blows my mind every time. But, I can't think of it right now. I know Will Chamberlain's stats are fucking stupid.
Yep. But again, asterisk, because he played during a time when the rules were very different.
Right. There was no 3-point line. There was no shot clock.
Yep.
But it was crazy because the pace was faster than it is now. Like, it was such a faster game.
Super fast game.
And
which is why he had the 100-point game and shit.
Yeah, and it was just, but like watching the very little footage they have, it almost looks like he's like CGI'd in the footage. Like the dude was like 7'2". He was like 300 pounds.
He was in good shape. Yeah.
He was faster, stronger, better than everybody.
Yeah.
Like,
and
I remember
his time, he was the man.
There was one year where he wins MVP. It was the year he got his 100-point game. He wins MVP that year. And people were like bitching because it's like, oh, he always has the ball and he never passes. So then the next year, he's like, all right, I guess I'll just pass the ball. Leads the league in assists and sets a record. Most assists.
Yeah.
He fucking averages like fucking, it was like something like 12 assists a game or some shit. Like, he's like, oh yeah, I'm just going to be the best fucking point guard also. And you can't block any of my passes or my shots because I'm a foot taller than you.
Who was the guy that got a quadruple double that the NBA doesn't recognize? Is it Kevin Garnett that got a quad double in like a playoff game and they don't recognize it randomly?
Kevin
Garnett is a weird like case.
Took it away from him. That's
Kevin
weird.
Garnett
I didn't
was
know that.
Fucking super good, and I
yeah,
feel like
when they reviewed the game
but
footage,
overshadowed by other monsters that happened to be in the league at the time. But he was one of the monsters.
And Garnett played for a long time.
Long time. Yeah.
Garnett was drafted out of high school too, which is crazy because he looked like a grown man.
Looked like he was 40 in his fucking rookie year.
Yeah,
he didn't.
Have you ever noticed that? Every single basketball player in the like 80s and 90s looked like middle-aged men when they were 20, and they were all playing in the NBA and looked like adult men. And now you look, and the adult men players look like kids still. I don't know what that is.
It's really weird. Dude, Kyle Kuzma on the Lakers looks like he's in middle school.
That's
like
so weird.
pure baby face.
How old is LeBron now? He's got to be getting up there in age.
36,
I
35.
would have said 36. Yeah.
Do you think he's gonna play till he's 40?
He wants to play until his son gets drafted. He said
Oh,
that's
wow.
why the deal with the Lakers is structured the way it is. He has this is a rumor, but apparently he has a clause that like when his son gets drafted, he's allowed to leave so he can play with his son.
I've heard that. Because
I think it's just
play in the league on a team with his son.
I think it's just an opt-in thing. So it's not like, if his son gets drafted and if he doesn't want to play for the team, he can opt out whenever he wants. Because that's how most superstars do it. Like Kawhi Leonard signed that deal with the Clippers.
Yeah, it's an optional thing.
Yeah, he's like, give me 1 year of the maximum pay, which is like $40 million, and if I want to come back, I'll come back, and if I don't want to, I don't have to. But you're gonna pay me $40 million because I'm the second best player in the league, and you just saw what I did in Toronto. I just won a championship for them. So if you want me to do it for you, you're paying me $40 million.
He's one of the monsters right now, isn't he?
Oh yeah, dude, he's insane. When he's like absolutely on, I don't think there's anyone that can touch him because that dude is like the best defender in the league, and he can drop like 35 on you. Like,
well, that's another thing. Like Jordan was a pretty good defender. They showed a lot of good footage of him playing defense, and you're like,
one of the best defenders ever. The dude went to like 12 All NBA defense teams.
Yeah,
I think he has the record. Like him and
when you look at Jordan's all teams that he made, it's so stupid, dude.
In
he was
comparison,
all
especially
NBA team like a million times, all defense a million times.
yeah.
Kareem,
slam dunk contest winner.
That's fucking great.
When
Kareem,
you look at it and you go, so some of these guys like now don't do the slam dunk contest. Like the big guys don't do the slam dunk contest anymore. Back in the day, they would do it back then. So it's like you had
back in the day, Jordan
Vince
and Dominique
Carter.
Wilkins, Vince Carter. Yep, Vince Carter to me. Vince Carter 2000 slam dunk contest is the single greatest performance ever in the history of a slam dunk contest, and instantly solidifies him. In my opinion, I think Vince Carter is a guy that is one of those legends who doesn't quite get that level of recognition because he was hit or miss during his career. He didn't always play at that level. But when he was on, he was one of the best.
He was a savage, yeah.
Dude, Ray Allen is another guy that people ignore. Like they only think of him being on the Celtics and the Heat as like a third option. But when he was on the Supersonics and the Bucks, he was like, when he was the guy, he was just ridiculous. He was like Steph Curry before, you were shooting 10 threes a game,
Yeah.
Like back then, shooting 5 or like even like before the Warriors won that title, shooting more than like 5 or 6 threes a game was just not something people did.
Nobody really did it, yeah.
And then
the game is a video game now, though. Like the game of basketball has changed so much because all of these people that are the stars now grew up playing basketball video games. And when you're a kid and you're playing a video game, what do you do to win games? You just scam threes all day. So now the game is much more three-pointer oriented.
And you just always give it to your best player.
Yep. You just pass it to the guy who can hit
You're not
threes.
You're not gonna see a team like the Pistons with Ben Wallace and Chauncey Billups ever again, where it was just like 6 dudes, like it was the starters and the 6th man that were just all pretty good.
Mm-hmm. But as a team, they went over that limit.
Yeah, like there was no guy on that team
able to win
like,
championships.
You're not picking any of those guys in a pickup game. Any of them. Maybe Ben Wallace to just stand under the net, but even then.
Yeah. I used to pick Ben Wallace in the like NBA Jam games just because he was tall, or the NBA what was it, NBA Street or some shit probably.
Yeah,
and
he was just super
NBA
tall.
Jam, the team I always picked was the San Antonio Spurs because it was when they had Rodman randomly, because it was pre-Rodman being in Chicago. So I picked them because I liked Rodman. And then I would also pick Orlando Magic because they had Shaq.
Oh, right. So Rodman went from the Pistons to the Spurs and then to Chicago, right?
Yes. But he started in the Pistons. That's like who drafted him, I believe.
Yeah, he was one of the
Dude,
bad boys.
the Bad Boy Pistons documentary that talks about those Pistons teams in the 80s is unbelievably good. It's probably
Is it a
I haven't
30
seen
for 30?
I haven't seen The Last Dance yet, but that is my favorite basketball documentary ever. I watch it way too much.
The Pistons one?
Yeah,
About the 80s Pistons? Word.
you should check that out if you haven't yet.
I will. I
It's
love
so
30
good,
for 30,
dude.
man. It's like
And
the
they,
best
like,
documentary series
Those
ever.
guys bought right into everyone hates them. They bought into it so quickly that like back in the day, like they were
scummy on the court though. Like that's
Oh,
the
they
thing.
were
The
atrocious.
Last Dance goes into it a little bit, and they talk about because the Bulls beat the Pistons eventually, and they walked off the court and all that shit. But it's like you recognize how aggressive they were on the court. Like they didn't give a fuck. They just elbow you to the fucking colon and shit.
And like you pretty much you had guys like you had Isaiah Thomas and Joe Dumars, which were the only dudes doing any scoring after they got rid of Adrian Dantley, and then their rest of their team was just big beefy defenders. You had Dennis Rodman, Rick Mahorn, Bill Laimbeer, John Sally. Like you could lose John Sally for a game because of a foul or because of 6 fouls and not need him because you can still score with everyone else. Like, so they just had guys, their whole team was just goons.
Right.
And it's so good. Like, it's so fucking awesome. Like,
I would have loved to see the games between the Lakers and the Celtics when it was Magic Johnson versus Bird. That had to be insane, man. That had to be insane.
Must have been crazy for
and
sure.
at the time, you don't think about it, right? Like at the time, you're like, okay, these guys are like the best.
You don't realize what you're seeing.
Yeah.
Like how history, like sport defining historically what you're seeing is at the time. You don't realize it.
Right.
I think with Jordan you did. Like even when I was a kid watching him, I went, "This is special."
Yeah.
Oh my god, guys!
That's
it's almost 1 in the
We've done
morning.
3 hours and 10 minutes.
Oh Jesus, I have to get up at fucking 6.
Maybe we should call it then.
Yeah,
Because we're gonna sit and talk about this until the sun comes up.
probably,
Otherwise,
yeah. I'm gonna get in my shower. I think I need to eat something. Oh, I had Skip's fish fry for dinner, man. Unbelievably good.
was it?
I got the
Never had it.
I got the fried seafood platter. It was a fried haddock, like 6 or 7 fried shrimp, 5 or 6 fried scallops, and a huge thing of French fries for $16.
Love it. I'm in.
So good. They do DoorDash, so get them.
I get that.
Yeah.
Oh man.
It only took like 20 minutes because no one's ordering Skip's fish fry. Obviously, like no one's gonna DoorDash Skip's fish fry.
Oh, by the way, Kim Jong-un is alive. So
He is alive. Yep.
that was fucking
To
wild.
get the current events out of the way, Kim Jong-un is alive.
Yeah,
That's
just
awesome.
had to throw that out there,
All right, boys. Well, we can call it. That was fun. Definitely trying to do that again. We got to do a play, like a video game play at some point. We'll probably do Streets of Rage 4, right?
I think we should do Streets of Rage. We have 4 people right here, so we could share play it or something.
I can't do
Yeah.
it tonight. I have to get up in 5
No,
hours.
not tonight. Not tonight. I
Okay.
mean another time.
Okay.
No,
Yeah.
you're good. Get out of here. You got to go to bed. You're
Yeah,
fine.
next time I'll bring
No,
a
I'm not
camera
gonna
the
go to
party.
bed. I just don't want to
You're good.
record anything.
As for Nick and Seth, I'm going downstairs after this out of the studio, and I'll be on if you guys want to play Warframe or something. I'm down.
Yeah.
It's like 1, so yeah, I probably will be
Yeah.
up for a little while.
I'll
Yeah,
be
I
up for at least
definitely
a few hours.
It's quarantine, so what else are we gonna do but stay up
Yeah.
forever in video games?
Jack off.
Well, you're working though, right? You're working, Seth. Yeah, all good.
I gotta work at 2. It's like
Oh, okay.
I can be
So
up.
you can be up. That's cool. All right. Well,
I'm
that
gonna
was
be out like 1, but I'm gonna be going back to the ER within the next week or 2. So
cool, man.
hopefully we can. I have to get
Jack
my schedule figured back out because when I got laid off by the ER, I switched my kitchen schedule around, and now I don't know what my schedule is going to be going back. So that's going to be rough. because since I've started in the ER, I've always had Tuesdays and Wednesdays off, and now I'm not gonna have them off all the time anymore.
You'll get used to it, oh man.
Well, it's as far as the show, like recording and stuff, because we always do Tuesday.
Are you going to shave so that you just have the mustache? Because you should.
Soon, maybe.
It can't be a maybe. It's got to be a yes, and it's got to be
I
tonight.
am growing my hair out. This is the longest my hair has been in like 5 years.
We don't have to do Tuesdays, by the way. We can just do any time before Wednesday, basically. Is all that matters.
Words.
Yeah, you could still release on Wednesday if you're
Yeah.
doing episodes before. You know what I mean? Like if you're doing them on a weekend or some shit, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, guys.
Well, I'll see you guys later.
Yeah.
Peace, dude.
Peace out, buddy.
Good talking.
Good chilling.